Thank you for joining us. This is, well, none other than Not Another Podcast, Counter-Strike edition. Because everybody seems to be doing one lately, we thought we'd get a bunch of experts, Iain and Mac, together.
Wow.
That's right. I've hung you out to dry already.
That's right.
To share some opinions about what's going on in the world of esports, what's going on in the world of Counter-Strike as well. Locally, there's a lot to talk about here in Australia. So we thought we'd get some of the best heads together. That's right. I'm giving you guys compliments.
Mm-hmm.
And low-key myself.
I do like my
as
head.
well. Yeah, you have a fantastic head on your shoulders, Matt.
Thank you.
And look, we've got a lot to talk about because there's been a lot happening locally, which relates to Counter-Strike. And I think, unless you've been living under a rock in the last week or so, which some of us may have been, I don't think any of us have actually appeared on anything.
I've been living in the rocks.
You've been living in the rocks.
A little bit different.
No, that's what he's just doxed himself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, shit.
Oh, bugger.
Oh. Anyway, what I mean to say is obviously there's a lot to talk about. Oh, the sign's flickering. This means the podcast is starting to get good, juicy. There's a lot to talk about in terms of obviously what's happening with TOs. Gfinity itself has announced that it's no longer going to be operating post-November this year. So, I mean, that's a big loss to the landscape in the sense that
Absolutely.
it's another player in the game that's pulling up stumps.
It was the only real competition for ESL as well, I think it's fair to say. Even though they were kind of like working together, which I think is safe to say as well.
That's right. They're growing the pie, right?
Yeah. It was everyone was in there, to help esports. It wasn't about we want to be the best, you want to be the best, like we're neck and neck fighting each other for talent or anything. It was pretty much everyone helping. Open slather.
Although the talent did have some issues coming into it. Some of them felt too scared to approach Gfinity or accept the offer. Remember that was a conversation I heard about.
Are we going to jump straight into that?
I was going to say,
is that a thing?
Let's preface this, okay? So we've all had something to do with Gfinity.
Yes.
Yeah.
In some capacity, obviously, like there's a range of different roles from like behind the scenes to, on-screen talent as well. Each of us have been on screen.
I think if you live in Sydney and you
Elite
weren't
series,
somehow a part of Gfinity, you weren't helping esports. You weren't helping your own people. Honestly, though, because that's the thing with Counter-Strike people in particular. You've got a lot of them must be in Sydney, right? There's got to be a lot of them in Sydney, not just the pros, but
in Lidcombe,
people.
The home of esports.
Yeah. Like if you're not doing your bit to turn up to these things when there's a live audience, you're not doing your bit and you're killing your own sport. Absolutely.
Oh, definitely. I think, time after time, people have hammered in that like it's so easy to support something that's local, whether it's a like, it's a share, it's a subscription, whatever that might be. You don't have to always throw heaps of money at something to support.
You don't have to like the TO. You don't have to like the teams. You don't have to like the guy running the place. You just have to go and show your support.
You don't have to like the commentators because they're awful, some of them.
Some of them.
That was my first time.
Yeah,
it was actually. That was your first big desk gig.
Conky as well.
I think it's interesting though, as you pointed out at the start there, with the crossover between Gfinity and ESL. And if you want to look at just the commercialization side of things, I mean, Gfinity did a great job on onboarding. Let's talk about Dare in particular. Non-endemic, weren't part of the esports scene at all. Were brought in by Gfinity. Now I have some presence at ESL as well. So that's actually benefited the community as a whole in the sense that they're still providing support and I guess exposure and money to
I can't
esports.
get away from Callum.
Nah, Callum Murray. He's everywhere, isn't he?
He's everywhere. I don't know if I love or hate the guy.
I think I love it. I think it helped.
You're part of him.
I think I am.
It just became like a meme, and people love memes, especially kids. And Gfinity, it was like in the audience, calamari, like every time it came on.
That's good sponsorship
That's
integration.
good sponsorship, and it's good content as well. It's good advert by them. I don't know if they knew what they were doing necessarily when they did it. They didn't see it as like becoming an esports meme, but we made it one.
I think that's a good introduction to esports audiences for non-endemics in the sense that an esports audience, if there's something to take,
you give
they
them
will
something.
take it and they will run with it.
Yeah. To the nth degree as well.
We've seen that like outside of that with Maxibon, right? One of the advanced sponsors, and we've seen the community uptake on the Maxibon and the controversy between sort of the different ways of eating them and things like that. The community took it and ran with it.
Man, I even tried that Maxibon eating contest at PAX.
Yeah. Oh, no, was it MEO?
Was it? No, it was PAX.
Was it PAX?
It's harder than it looks. You got to basically deep throat it. And for me, you would think that's not a problem, but it's it's cold.
Do you know the technique that won it? Do you know what the dude did?
I saw him.
He folded it in half.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, folded it in half.
While it's in the packet,
Yeah.
squeeze it down, fold it in half, and then like take a chunk and deep throat it basically and swallow the whole thing whole.
Is it
With the packet on top.
It's ice cream. No, you take it out of the packet.
Didn't he do it in
right.
like 7 seconds or something?
He's like 8 seconds.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And that's when I was just like, I'm not having another go.
I was thinking about it, but I saw the line and I was like, not going to bother.
I'm going to bring you back on
I
topic.
stood in that line.
I'm going to bring you back on topic. Okay. We're talking, obviously, that's good sponsorship integration.
Yeah.
We've seen through esports that there's been huge
Well,
potential.
Red Bull as well. Yeah, anyway,
Well,
they're
that's,
there.
That's a natural
We
one.
love it. We love it. Come sponsor esports. We'll take your product and run with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think back on to the point you were making was that Gfinity did a lot of good for the scene. And, I mean, there's no shortage of negative comments. If you want to go and see negative comments, everybody knows what's going on behind the scenes.
Look, I will
apparently.
badger
There's
the-
a lot of armchair experts.
Jim, I will badger the shit out of a bad idea. And I'll tell people it's a bad idea. If you don't listen to me and you go ahead and do it, fine. But don't be angry that I'm saying it's a bad idea because you didn't listen. You went off and did your own thing. If it doesn't pay out, I'm not the guy that's going to be like, oh, you shouldn't have even tried. You guys are idiots. It was a good try. We knew there was some problems going in as far as like when I was concerned. I think everyone knew my stance on it when it first came out, when I heard the amount of money they were asking to invest and such. But I still supported it. I still got on board because if you're not helping, you're killing your own sport. So
You even
that's what
turned
it
up
was.
to commentate.
I even turned up to commentate, you know? So I think it was pro bono as well. So, okay. So what a nice guy.
Well, hold on. Speaking of which,
Tooting horns.
and I will bring this up, Gfinity raised the bar as far as talent getting paid.
Not
a more
necessarily.
reasonable amount.
Gfinity
It did.
Gfinity didn't raise the bar. The talent got together and raised the bar, and Gfinity was like the axis of evil
What's the
for another TO, and basically said, "We have this money. We have not a lot of investment. We have more than everyone else, but we're going to give you what you deserve. This is the fair rate." They didn't say, here's this extraordinary amount of money for, doing a shit job. You guys are the top of your craft. We want you. This is the fair rate going around. We have experience overseas, yada, yada. So here's a fair rate. People went, well, what the hell? This is crazy. This is almost double what I was getting before. And they went, well, why would I go back and do it for cheap if it's on at the same time and competing? It's schedule competing. Then I think you've got to say, okay, well, you're the top talent. You're worth it. Let's go.
Yep.
And they did. And I mean, to both parties' credit, I think it's best for the scene. I think they don't get paid enough at the moment,
Still
talent
not
in
enough.
Australia.
No.
But then again, the money isn't there. And I think Gfinity shows that the money isn't there right now. Australia's marketing budget pales in comparison to everywhere else in the world. And it's not going to change until someone comes in and says, hey, look, Australia, this is this thing with grassroots. If grassroots doesn't kick off, then there's no new people. How many new Texas have we seen since 2016?
Very few.
So, if we don't invest in grassroots, which people are upset about, why did we invest in grassroots? Mate, you might be good now because you're a pro. What about the next guy? Pros don't last forever.
Right.
Look what happened to the Vox generation, the immunity generation. They get kicked. They go make their own team. They fail, whatever. They quit. They don't they don't stick around to coach,
To be fair, though, I think actually what you just touched on there, that's happened before.
That's
in CS.
It's going to continue to
It's going
happen.
to continue to happen. Now, that's an Australian thing as well. That 100%, it's happened before.
No, definitely.
CS 1.6.
I'm not disputing it. I think overseas that definitely happens as well. Look at the 1.6 Europeans. Those Swedish guys, Gux, all that, they didn't stick around. Sure, some of them did, like DSN, whatever. Khan, he went off to Fnatic to run the place. But in terms of the pros with the knowledge to stick around and teach kids, very few do. All over the world.
I think we sort of branched off from Gfinity into grassroots, but I think that's a nice place to leave it though, and move into grassroots, as you were saying. Player development is suffering to some degree because of that grassroots or that lack of care being shown sometimes towards grassroots. Yep. It's almost like it's a pyramid, right? In the sense that there's a huge player
if you
base.
support grassroots and not pros will be pissed.
Yeah,
if you come in with money and you support grassroots, pros are like, where's my money? Why are they getting more than me and I'm better than them?
But pros are also like, we have no time to play these domestic events anymore. We're only going to play the qualifiers.
They
for
only
the
say that
international
because
ones."
the prize money's crap.
Okay.
Like, let's be real. Pros lie.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly.
And they
If you're
don't acknowledge
gonna-
their own bias either. Like, straight up.
No.
So, I can tell, like, they're like Tux getting angry about Gfinity, mate. You've act. They don't allow you to play. That's why you're angry.
I was going to say that's actually a completely different discussion in the sense that, like, when people associate Gfinity, they associate it with one product, which was the Elite Series, which
Yes.
obviously launched the brand.
Associate.
Yeah, associate. Well, exactly. But that wasn't the entirety of Gfinity. I think a lot of people have failed to recognise that the Elite Series was one product, and there were, there's room for other products, and they can disagree with the format, but that was again
A global format.
one. Yeah, well, it
But-
was used in the UK.
It was the flagship product. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It was the flagship product of Gfinity. So when people think Gfinity, they think Elite Series. In fact, to some degree, people
Yeah.
didn't even associate it as the Elite Series as its own product. They just thought Gfinity.
Yeah,
Right?
of course.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's fair to say as well. But what I'm saying is, don't be angry at them because you're not in a position to be angry because you weren't included. Like, you're just angry for the sake of being angry about something because it was bad for you. It was great for a lot of people. It was great for Order, like those players and all the grassroots players that won something and got to compete against good teams and good players. The inclusion, there was so much, there was more females in this league than any other league, I think. So it's like, as far as Gfinity went ticking boxes, man, it kicked ass.
And I mean, on that note, we've obviously seen a lot of stuff on Twitter and people having their opinions and things like that, and
Which they're entitled
yeah,
to.
which they're entitled to. But you need to remember that you need to direct it in the right direction, right? And it comes back to something I commented on social media. That, I saw a lot of shade or hate being thrown towards certain individuals within esports, and at the end of the day, I mean, they weren't in charge of the decisions that led Gfinity to where it's at.
Yeah,
Right?
Jim
They
had,
weren't.
had no
No,
choice.
exactly. This is just sort of how it was, and it is what it is, though, I guess, in that sense. But still, we need to make sure that we're not. A lot of these people are people who have been working on esports for a very long time, who've been trying to grow it for a very long time, and we need to be a bit more mindful of that moving forward in the way that we throw our shade and things like that. So,
Can we also quickly go back? And I just want to say that Jim did try to make it possible for players like Textra and Tux to play the Elite Series. Did you, Jim?
yeah,
Because, I mean, if you're not
prefer
spewing
to
it all over
disclose,
Twitter,
but yeah, well,
then it
that's
didn't
the thing.
happen.
Exactly. Like, I'm not here trying to amass a point score.
no,
I'm not.
Oh,
trying
no,
wow.
I'm
Everyone
ju- I'm
else,
just saying
everyone else
in
is,
that
Jim.
regard.
Let's get some points on the board, bro.
But
Boom.
look, it would I think be nice to obviously in some areas have like the ideal format and have like all the planets align and make things happen. But that's obviously it's not always possible.
Well, like I said, it's a global product. You're stuck with what global want. Everyone knows that. And if they didn't know that, well, then they're idiots.
Well, then, now they
Well,
know.
now you know.
Yeah.
Rather than being an idiot, you're less of an idiot.
Well, I mean, you're misinformed. You didn't do your research.
That's a fair comment, I think, in that regard. But
Oh, well, if you're a VAC player and you're asked to play, what were you told?
well, you can't play
Why?
He told me.
because that's the Valve stance.
Oh, okay.
And another little rumor that I've seen, and I kind of want to, I guess, touch on here is, people are going out and saying it's like what you said before. Like Order aren't unhappy with their experience at Gfinity. They did quite well. It won
I
both
mean,
seasons.
From the
There was-
organization standpoint, I'm not. That's just.
Well, no,
you know,
I mean from
but
an
what you're
org's
saying is
perspective,
they are
right?
happy.
Like I'm going to go out on a limb here and say they definitely weren't out of pocket, right? With the investment versus how much they managed to
Prize money.
win. And you got to remember there was a club prize pool. So there was a specific prize pool for the esports organizations outside of the CSGO prize pool, right? Same for the other clubs as well. I'll go out on a limb and say that I don't think any of them were out of pocket from the whole experience, right? So, this whole thing about, I've seen people say that it was it was floated by these clubs, like the Gfinity Elite Series was floated by the clubs. That's bullshit. It's just not the case. It's not what happened. The clubs, I'm obviously good friends with Bo from Ground Zero, and and
Not to name names.
not to name names, yeah,
Dropping names.
yeah, when you're
Pick that up, that's
big
a
dog
name.
like me, so it happens. But these guys aren't unhappy with their experience. They're obviously unhappy that it's finishing. And
let's
what
go
the
back to the
community is.
start with Gfinity, and the controversy around it was the rumored investment required to partake.
Oh yeah,
right?
Rumors were wild, but that's again,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's the rumor mill running. Like there's always going to be a rumor mill running.
Mhm.
Like it's one drama to the next, and that's
Well,
But once it started, the race was on, and
But-
everyone was for it. If you were in it, you're in it to win it.
Well, people don't realize that like there's so much more to it than just the buy-in. Obviously, there's the prize pools and stuff like that, but there was rev shares in this.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and the Rocket League was televised.
Rocket League was televised, and as someone who works for an org or that was involved in this, those numbers from the television, considering that like if you were to compare it to Twitch, right, the television numbers were Australian, all Australian.
all Australia.
Yeah.
Right. So when you go speak to sponsors or potential partners about the viewership numbers and the stuff that we were getting from Gfinity, it was strong.
Yeah.
Right. From our perspective, like, we also have at Avant, we have League of Legends and stuff like that. But the Gfinity numbers for Australian viewers was very strong.
Jim was getting recognised in the streets by kids and
All over
single
the
mothers
place.
all over the
Yeah,
place.
it was out of control.
So-
Yeah, my parole officer's having a field day.
Yeah. Christ. Well, that's not where I wanted to go with that. But like,
I'm just kidding.
just think about it this way: like kids and parents at home learned about Order, they learned about Chiefs, they learned about Ground Zero.
Well,
Like,
I mean, you only needed to turn up to one weekend of the Elite Series with Rocket League and see that there were families turning up
yeah,
to watch it in studio,
yeah,
and like it was the kids dragging along the parents. It wasn't vice versa.
yeah.
So to me, that's
And
crossover.
it's odd to me that the parents allowed their kids to partake in the video games and just train in mass murder. Watch your old
Oh, you had to go there. I knew it was coming. Yeah, it was
that
fun.
Rocket League
All the
will,
violence. Yeah. Ooh.
yeah,
Well, they do have demolitions.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty
That's true.
crazy.
yeah.
I think you'd
Gets-
probably
gets
find
pretty
there's,
wild.
there's been a spike in car accidents worldwide off the back of Rocket League for
Well,
sure.
if you saw some of the driving from Jake in particular, it was
Oh.
awful. I
Yeah.
don't know how he passed his license test.
Yeah, no.
Well,
One of those great
But-
unknown mysteries.
I'm a king at derailment.
I was going to say you derailed this hard, but I think we've touched on some good areas in that sense. But I think also from a standpoint that you made a point earlier about obviously some opinions and players being vocal,
Yeah.
and that's sort of a segue into
Just some guys. I
our
didn't name anyone.
next topic, which was sometimes the lack of personality shown on
Absolutely.
Twitter. Now, it's no stranger, as I was saying before in the intro to the podcast itself. Some of us haven't appeared on a Counter-Strike cast. I haven't appeared on a Counter-Strike cast all year. As someone who does obviously follow Counter-Strike to a degree and try and keep tabs on the domestic scene, I follow a lot of players, but I don't see what on earth is going on.
Yeah.
I mean, on that as well, I'm gonna like same thing. I want to slightly divert it just to add another bit to this topic. Is look at even influencers that are CSGO related in Australia. Name more, because there's only one that I can think of in all of Australia who is a CSGO streamer. Right? We don't have him anymore. There's Top Gun. That's it. Other than him, there's just variety streamers. We don't have that sort of presence of personalities, right? Within the realm of CSGO.
Do you think we're past the golden era? Because I know I really wanted to get into streaming when
Yeah.
my internet was shit in Perth.
Yeah.
It was not possible. Ricky was streaming, everyone was streaming. And it was like, this was the moment to get in as well. Like, this was Counter-Strike heyday. We just got back from majors. Let's stream. Every Aussie player was trying to stream. All of a sudden, we just disappear. To be honest, yeah, social media is pretty cut and dry, isn't it? I mean, and what do you think? I mean, we don't all want to be like Dick Stacey.
No.
We don't all want to be like...
Well,
You can't.
it's a catch-22, right? This is my experience with it is, right, like, in the earlier days of CSGO, we're now at a point now where you guys will be aware that there's quite a few teams that are paid pretty well.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say amazing, but paid pretty well to be professionals, right? And what that includes is not just getting in the server and pracking and playing, but you do need to be able to do sponsorship obligations or build your own brand.
I mean, that's
Now-
why you're an employee as far as I'm
yeah.
concerned.
So you then have to commit to these things. Now, prior to that sort of level of investment being involved, it was very difficult to convince players to do any of this kind of stuff because you're not paying them, right?
It was smart. Back then, it would have been smart. Like when I was a player, it was smart not to do engagements unless you were paid.
Unless you're paid, 100%.
Otherwise,
had
you were
to-
getting smashed for a free ride.
Yeah, look, and I 100% agree. Now that that's shifted amongst some of the top teams here in the region, there's sort of, I guess, these players are realizing they've kind of got no choice, right? They have to get involved in this stuff. Then how much of that then falls back onto the org to make sure they're training these guys, actually developing them, or how much of it do you think falls back onto the
I
players?
think it's sink or swim, man. Like,
Yeah, that's fair.
look at the Renegades. Do you reckon they were trained to do that first video in LA, in Vegas? Like, no,
You
man.
mean this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no training there. It was
I
just
wouldn't
like,
say-
let's have some fun. Look, yes, they probably had a sick marketing team.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was
But
gonna
I'm
say,
just
there's
saying,
certainly-
go out, have some fun on social media, put your name out there, put your personality out there. But again, do we have personalities? Do we have people that have a personality?
I was going to say with that Renegades thing, there's a certain level of natural charisma that would have been utilised.
We were a pretty charismatic team,
Yeah.
charismatic team when I was in the team.
when it was Vox Eminor.
Yeah. And I mean, swapping me out for JKS probably makes no difference in terms of charisma. We're both pretty dry.
Well, until
Did you whack
until
tables?
recently, he smiled the other day.
I did
I
see
remember that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that. And I
Never
was,
saw you smile.
oh, well, boom, upgrade in more ways than one.
Yeah, exactly. But
So, yeah, I mean, you look at that team and we were pretty charismatic. And you look at
were
any
the
other
Aussie
team.
blokes, punching up.
Exactly.
against the world. You
And
were-
everyone loves a good Aussie underdog. Like, and then for them to do that video with like, look how sick we are. We have all this money. We're in Vegas. We have a sick life, and we're practicing and we're boot camping in NA. And then find out it was kind of like all smoke and mirrors.
With that being said, though, right, how much of that video do you think was the players, and how much was it was some savvy
It
marketing
was probably
person?
Monty all the way. But
yeah,
like
but that's what I'm saying. So
the players, I think any player can do what they did.
no, I agree, but they had to be prompted. Someone from the org,
I don't
someone
think
from behind
those
the scenes.
guys do not take prompting. Look at them. It was havoc.
No, they
Like,
they did it
come on,
well.
guys.
They had a blast, but someone at the org goes, "We're going to do a video, and it is going to be around
Yeah.
this." The players may
Sean,
have even
Those
came up with
guys,
their
you
own-
say, let's do a video. They're like, fuck yeah.
yeah, no, I agree.
You do that to someone like any Aussie team right now, other than Greyhounds, they're all like, oh, don't hurt me, daddy. Like a Wolfenstein difficulty.
Tell me that wasn't the location as well. You're in
Yeah.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps.
What is Vegas?
It's the whole
associated?
point of that was like, we are renegades. We are baller AF.
Yeah.
Be jealous. Look at our life. And I think it was like, the Renegades song and everything. It wasn't just for like, haha, Aussies, you want to be like us. It was also like, hey, world, we're here. We're baller. The results didn't really match, but they were pretty baller. It was
Well,
pretty
what it
sick,
did, though, is-
sick time for them. Sick time for Counter-Strike as well.
It still rallied a shitload of support.
And they have a lot of fans. You try saying anything bad about them on Twitter, you will hear about it.
I think
Yeah.
Renegades
Yeah,
have
the
done that
boys.
just overarchingly. Renegades as a brand have quite clearly
Right.
also targeted the Australian market.
Yeah.
And have the full support across multiple titles.
Absolutely. No matter who their players are.
That's true.
So I think that's a very smart way to set things up. But back onto the topic of player personalities, it's a different world for commentary as well.
Yeah.
In the sense that for yourself, Mac, you've got your own stream, you've got your own personality, and is it safe to say that a lot of what you do, you're quite active on social media at times, and is that something that
Not as
plays on
active
your-
as some.
not as active as some. No, but does that play on your mind as well? That you've got to be active on social media because you yourself,
Or for a
as
job.
Mac,
For a
Yeah.
crust.
is a brand.
To continue, like I respond super awkwardly when someone says, "Oh, hey, Geordie." I go, "Whew,
Who's that?
how do you know my first name? What's going on?"
Yeah.
It's odd. Even when Kevin and I have been casting recently, he's like, "Oh, so Geordie," and I'm like, "Whew, "Yeah, Mum, what's up?"
I don't think I've ever called you Geordie.
No, don't please.
I just wouldn't.
No.
It just doesn't seem right.
I feel like in this world
Plus
of
we're Aussie.
esports, it just
Yeah.
yeah.
If we can make it shorter, we will.
Have you ever called me Sean? It's just Baal, yeah.
I'll call you Sean.
Yeah, no.
The other night I go, "Hey, Sean, what's up?"
That's true.
Mm.
I think, to be fair, once I sort of transitioned out of talent and more into
Oh, you
org
left
stuff.
esports behind.
Well, I wouldn't say I left esports behind, but I don't know. I've been called Sean a lot more since then. Because it used to be just Baal. That was all I was called.
If you're my teammate, I'll call you by your real name.
Do you get Snyper or do you get Iain most of the time?
What do I? When?
Just
by who?
in esports.
Yeah,
with
by fans, Sniper.
yeah.
By friends, Iain. Co-workers, Iain.
Yeah.
Even on
I
even
wouldn't
on
expect your
What about on the
coworkers
desk?
to
Even
call you
on-
Sniper.
What about on the desk?
What happens when they skip professional courtesy? What do they call you then?
famous.
Oh, okay.
But
That
yeah,
one,
to
that
go
one-
back
that one cooks me.
to go back to the initial question about social media, I definitely do like to I come up with content
Are you
sometimes.
extroverted? You reckon?
I'm definitely an extrovert that's gone into an introverted world. Sometimes I think it's the opposite as well because I used to play rugby league back in the day and I got into that sort of rugby league boy, culture.
So
and
you know
then,
your way around the locker room.
Actually, no, I stopped playing before we started doing locker room stuff. Under 16s was my last year, and then
you missed out, mate.
Yeah.
Locker room is chat for any sort of like competitive sport. At least at like a club level, is hilarious to a certain degree, and I think that prepares you a little bit better to operate in some spaces where charisma is required. Esports is a good example. The people who have, to some degree, had experience playing in teams, in like any sort of like social environment where it is a bit sink or swim, it is a bit sometimes, and to use the term, boys clubby, they do a little bit better just by default. Like they're the natural leaders because that's an environment they're familiar with.
To top that off, I've noticed there's a couple of upcoming like people who are doing commentary, and they are very good. I could name some names, but it feels like
Sean's dropped names.
Yeah, you're giving kudos.
It just feels like some of them they sort of are very awkward. They're just very awkward especially when you're around them socially, and then when you try to do a cast with them, sometimes that can also lead to it being a little bit awkward.
Why is it awkward? What are you talking about?
I don't know.
There's new guys on the block. You're not the newbie anymore.
Yeah.
And you're friends with them outside of work or not? Okay. Acquaintances.
Yeah, spoken to them.
Yep. You cast together.
Occasionally.
And then what happens? What's awkward about it? It's like
it's hard to be like it's very easy to be awkward when you're doing an online broadcast over a Discord or whatever when you're not next to someone anyway. When you're doing duos. So I just try to
which I've
avoid
never
that.
done. So
You've never done it?
Yeah, I'm glad.
I'd actually say that's the hardest.
Yeah, that would be
casting.
just the worst.
Funnily enough, it's actually the first that a lot of people are introduced to, other than
100%.
solo casting. But continue, mate.
So I lost my spot, but that's okay.
I just want to know why it's awkward to cast with new guys because I've done it.
Yeah, there's no gesturing. There's no.
I wouldn't do it.
It's hard to just get the sort of flow.
Do you think
with
you
someone.
can avoid it?
You can avoid it by solo casting.
Well, no, okay. So you're saying because if it's not a real studio cast, but you have to do it, this is how you would do it.
Well, I was going to say, we actually, I brought Sean into casting and it was via Skype.
Yeah, we were the other sides of countries.
But we had to work out ways to solve that
Remember this?
problem. We had a hand signal. No joke. Okay. So this is a tip for all you newbies out there that may be wanting to get into casting and try something. And to be fair, to get into casting, and if you want to be taken seriously, solo casting's only going to get you so far. As soon as you start learning to work in a duo, you set yourself up better. But we had to learn to overcome the internet. We had to come up with a hand signal system via webcam.
Yep.
Now, we obviously used our webcams to some degree for the, we did a bit of a pre-show sometimes. We had ourselves on webcam. I think that's actually a really good way to associate yourself with your brand, with your casting. Because as soon as you put a face to your casting, you're not just a voice.
Yeah.
You get lost in the crowd if you're just a voice. So if you want to get into casting, I highly recommend fully investing in two things, a mic and a webcam.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you get your noggin
What do you
out
think
there-
about the webcam in the bottom corner while you're casting a game?
Look, personally, I'm not a fan of it if you are casting a game in a professional sense. If you're doing it for your own content and things like that, do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how to brand yourself because I don't think it's my place. But in terms of learning to overcome the difficulties of working across the internet, we had a webcam set up, and because we didn't use them in the game,
You can do that on Discord now.
Yeah, precisely. But
Yeah.
we had a wave system set up.
We did.
So that we would have the game, and then in our peripheral vision, would have our co-commentator waving in. And I think people panic a little bit online sometimes. Because
When there's silence. People panic even on a desk, mate.
precisely.
Yeah.
But like,
You know,
silence isn't that bad.
it's golden.
Exactly, because you've got moving pictures in front of you. Yes, right. That's right. We have technology that already tell the story.
Sometimes I just want to watch a game.
Precisely.
and
That's
not
why-
get
that's why
shouted
Dog
at.
Ryan was.
I've
was
got
good.
a nice story from IEM when Carmack. There was one point where it was pretty tense in a 1v1 situation. I can't remember the two teams at the moment. But Rob and I, we were both casting, and we'd have this thing because we're both obviously play-by-play. I was taking a lot of the grunt as colour, but after the bomb goes down, you just throw to the other person. That was generally how we try and do it. But it was a perfect situation to just not talk for like 20 seconds, right? Or even just like interject and say like a word or two, and then just leave it, say a word or two and leave it. And Carmack, he was saying he was watching us and he was really impressed with what we'd done, but he was like, I'll find it and I'll show you right now. And then found the point. And after we'd like Rob had thrown to me, he was just like, just shut the fuck up. And then we're like, oh, okay. And it, just to build the tension, just to like heighten that sort of feeling in the room with everyone that was there. And we're like, oh, cool. That's that. And from that point, we had this hand signal, which was just that. So if you wanted to take it and you just wanted to have dead
And
air.
you wanted to come back?
Yeah. Just
Beautiful.
do that until you come back. And then.
Well, you and I, when we first casted together, it was your first studio cast.
Yep.
We had a tap-in system.
Yeah.
Well, that's from PGTV days, right?
Well, yeah, that was what I was taught.
It's universal. It's universal.
By Maverick.
Yeah.
Maverick Master. For
Mav.
those of you that know. Yeah, like,
The godfather
I
of
consider him
production.
to be the godfather of production, but also the guy that gave me my start in commentary, and I'm very fortunate to have some good advice in that regard. I think actually it was a studio event in his living room, and
with the fire. The
no,
fireplace?
that
Or
was
before
later on
that?
down the
Okay,
track.
sorry,
But,
yeah,
we
yeah.
actually had the privilege of
So
watching.
started at the bottom and now you're here.
yeah, exactly, full circle. But we actually watched Elfish Guy and Sandman do their thing and picked up a bit on.
Was that Team Down TV or ESL early days?
It was
or
actually
AGTV or whatever it was. What was it?
ACL qualifiers,
That's on ACL.
Melbourne 2015.
Yeah. I think. Go on.
You think?
Yeah. They flew themselves in for that gig. Like, this is so far back.
Oh, that particular one. This was just the online qualifiers. It was done out of Mav's studio bedroom setup, which was sick. Because that's why I consider him the godfather of production. Because he basically had what we have now in, his
2015.
his own
2016.
investment. Like he did it. And then later on for that event, people actually flew themselves down to cast the event. No one got paid. Because the ecosystem just wasn't there, and everybody wanted.
No one was paying. That's why.
No one was paying. No one was getting paid.
Was that pre-skins?
That actually was like at the height of skins.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been pre-skin.
Yeah.
Because even stickers were Vox.
I barely even remember pre-skins. Like that's rolling back the clock a long way.
That's before my time.
I remember the first CSGO box. I remember the lightning strike and the
It would have been 2013.
red laminate AK. and stuff like that.
2013 DreamHack Winter or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
With the orange CSGO box, which we went to and got wrecked by potential cheaters.
DreamHack 2013.
Yeah.
Did it have case hardened in it too? Or was that box too?
You've still got the sticker on your bloody PC
Yeah,
case.
the DreamHack Winter, the little mountains.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they brought out an esports case. Remember that?
Yep. The orange one. There was an orange
There was
one and a
orange
blue
and
one.
Blue, yeah. Orange was first, blue was.
And the money went towards the prize pool.
Which was actually quite a cool initiative. And I know we've derailed a little bit.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that.
I want to sort of round this.
So
topic up.
basically, players in Australia that play Counter-Strike are just nobodies because they don't have a social media presence, and that's where people go to find out
Right.
about
My
Counter-Strike,
question-
which we have no idea about what's going on because of that.
So you know what?
And we're in the scene, and we have no idea what's going on
Here's the thing.
sometimes.
We see more from some personalities who aren't players than the players
100%.
themselves.
Yeah. My question to each of you, and I want each of you to answer, is whose responsibility is that? Is it the pros or is it the orgs or is it both?
I actually think 100%. It actually does fall on the player.
Yeah, you think it's the player's responsibility?
Responsibility, is that the word we want to use?
Well,
Best interests?
it's in their best interest, correct. I think there's a certain responsibility, obviously, in terms of like this, sponsorship. And
Why have a Twitter account if you're not going to
But-
Twitter?
for the same, and I'm going to loop it back to what I was saying before about the commentary and establishing your brand and whatnot. The opportunity for us as commentators to establish our brand was that webcam, was that voice, was that stream.
Yep.
For the players, they don't get that same opportunity. They don't have a voice in the physical sense. Their voice is Twitter.
Exactly.
Their brand is
Twitter?
Twitter.
Because they're not using Facebook
And then
anymore.
also what they do in game to some degree, but like a
Maybe
lot of
Instagram?
well, you're only in game for so long. Correctly?
Exactly, and you're not on a webcam.
Exactly.
Well, what I want to say as well, the two that come to mind when it comes to like player branding, like making their own brand, one is about dicks and one is about toe fungus.
Toe Fungus isn't really a great brand.
No, but
Internationally renowned.
live with him.
Not really. Yeah, I know, but I mean,
But that's what I'm saying.
if
Is
you
it's
know
like,
me, I don't carry any bias. That's not a great brand.
Okay, well, let me throw another little curveball in here because we've all done talent work.
Mhm.
How much of the responsibility of building up these players falls back onto the talent who's casting them?
I actually
Do you think any of the responsibility? Or?
I actually think like for us when we were casting, and this is like 100% the sentiment that we also agreed with was that it was about building up the players and the stories around the players. Because the players ultimately your product.
Yes.
As a caster, doesn't matter what on earth you're doing, what you cast, because there's no one is going to turn up and watch you cast a game if the player caliber or the interest in the players isn't there. If there's
And if you say it's a crap game, people aren't going to watch a crap game.
Exactly, but there's argument that player branding is everything. Look at the Cloud9 rosters that have gone by. People turned up and watched and supported Cloud9 rosters when they were scraping the bottom of the barrel for their results because the players were still brands and they still had following.
Yeah.
So the following tuned in to watch the streams. And I think
that went on
lot
for
of
a
that-
few years too.
yeah, exactly.
So,
It wasn't a short period of time. So I think the players, it is in their best interest to develop themselves. It's
financially
also-
as well.
Exactly, but it's also in the best interest of the talent to be highlighting the players. And like, there has been, sentiment towards it. I do agree that, like, for example, getting them on Reddit, getting them more exposure, things like that. You don't have to swear to get attention on a particular casting clip to get it on Reddit. If it's good enough, it'll get there. But it does need to be put
At the
there.
end of the day, why is it there? Is it there because of the commentator or is it there because of the player?
Well, it should be there because of the player. If we're there to promote the player,
It can
depends
get
on the
there.
situation.
It can get there because of the commentator, but if
Yeah.
the commentator's not going to swear if the player didn't do something good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but
I agree.
look,
but
I think we've all done a
readable.
good job initially. I remember early on in my days, I was touting CS in Australia, saying we're getting there, and I think sometimes I don't take credit for anyone else. Like I don't go, oh, I made that person. There are good players out there, and I really, my eyes were opened up during the Atletico Tainted Minds days when we saw players like Liaz come to fruition, and I was just like, and Texter as well, and I was like, what? We actually have some kids coming through. This is great. This guy will be the next JKS. I said that about Texter before knowing about the VAC. But he did turn out to be like a slight version of JKS, but surely saying that doesn't help. But
Well, I was going to say,
it gets them noticed by other people who haven't seen them before. Look at Liaz now in Renegades, and, Texter as well in Chiefs. Like, they grew from grinny bankers and Atletico where no one wanted to pick them up. And I think, us when I was with ESL, we were always saying, like, do this. These guys are doing really well. Australia's proving to be really good. And we did go through that period of where we rose, and Renegades had a good period as well. But it's getting to a point now, which, sidetracking a little bit, we'll get to this point later probably.
Yep.
We're trash. Aussies are trash.
Do you want to move along?
I was gonna
We
say,
don't deserve the invite sometimes.
That is another topic. Now, we're going to brush on...
And I've lost all faith.
You've lost all faith. Ian's
Prove
lost
me
all faith.
wrong.
Well, that's the gauntlet being thrown down.
We've
right?
been, I don't know if we've been so worried about beating each other that we don't worry about how good we'd go overseas. Or look at Furia, like out of nowhere. Ents, out of nowhere. Like, sure, Furia may be helped out a little bit by the org update, but why weren't we helped out by the org update? Like, what's going on here? What is the major difference? You can't blame distance anymore. We also have Asia. Look at Tai Lu. I made that tweet the other day that since I stopped playing in 2015, 2 teams have made majors from our region. And that's Greyhounds and Renegades.
Yeah.
Like, WTF, dude?
I think that, like I've spoken about this before with some players and stuff like that. I think there's a real lack of innovation coming out of our region. I think we're doing the same stuff that we always have. We haven't.
Are we getting rewarded for that?
No, we're not. But that's my point.
Domestically?
I think, well, domestically, potentially, right? I mean, I know obviously being over in Berlin recently, the boys in their
Which
scrim,
boys?
the Avant boys in their scrim sessions and such were being exploited in ways that they hadn't been here. right? So there was all of a sudden all these little holes in that things that were working here that were getting exploited by different play styles over there. But I think the core problem is, if you look at Brazil as an example, right?
Yeah.
You go back to MIBR when they first came out of the scene, they
When
changed.
Flusher paid for them to go to America.
Yep, they changed the meta to some degree. They came in with a new approach and it worked.
Hard work.
Right? Yeah, literally hard work. That's you know.
Stop it.
New approach.
Yeah, look, they did, but that's like, let's be real. They worked super hard. They treated this from like, you know, a full-time job. You look at Furia as well, coming in, grinding out hard. What I think we do in Australia, and it's not just CSGO, I've seen it in other titles as well, is we're doing the same shit we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. The way that we practice, the way that we scrim, the way that we set ourselves up, the way that we just try and mimic what's happening in other regions, as opposed to further developing our own play style and our own approach. And it's not yielding the results that we want.
I don't think it comes down to play style, and mimicking is good. When there's best practice, mimicking is
look,
good. I mimic.
yeah.
Does it
I
come
mimic.
down to mindset with practice then? Like in the sense that everyone has this, it holds this notion that it's a grind.
No,
And
it is a grind.
It is.
It
100%. But
Like I said, that's why
people
MIBR come
mindlessly
in.
grind. And I remember at the end of our playing days, and we've had this conversation before, I always felt I played my best Counter-Strike when I actually played some of the least.
Yeah.
In the sense that when I was playing Counter-Strike, it was with the team.
Mhm.
And that was it.
You can try. You can definitely try too hard.
I was doing individual prac, but minimal.
Yeah.
And it was just to warm up to play with the team.
Yeah, you can burn out.
Well, you hear the argument. I see a lot of players out there who are on the cusp of being sort of in those sort of Div 1 teams being like, oh, we would easily be the best players or the best teams if we could do it, 12 hours a day. If I didn't have my job and I was getting paid, but that's cart before the horse type approach, in my opinion. If you look at your JKSs, you look at some of the teams from your era who literally paid their own way to national LAN events. There was no salaries. There was no, we'll fly you there. If you were lucky enough to have someone who was like, yeah, we'll help you.
Yeah.
That was a luck thing. That wasn't
It was for passion.
it was 100% for passion. You guys all had jobs as well. You weren't making
Not
a
all of
living.
us.
Well, no, not all
But
of you, but
majority.
you weren't making a living off CSGO.
Time was shared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time was shared between CSGO, real life, and
Had to be.
and your work.
Right?
Well, ultimately, the team wasn't full time as a team.
Yeah.
There was various commitments that stopped the team
Yeah.
from practicing due to work, real life,
Well,
university, whatever.
look at Vox Seminole. They made a splash on the international stage without it being something that you guys were doing the full time 10 a.m. starts, scrimming from 11 onwards.
I think that was just a cool story at first.
Potentially, but it gave an opportunity for them to end up in Renegades, right?
Mhm.
Off the back of passion and hard work.
Yeah.
Right. And then they got the pay, the salary, the swag. They did all the videos. They did the Las Vegas.
Yeah, all that
whatever,
hard work
yeah.
paid off for them.
Well, but that's my point, right? We're seeing a bit of the opposite here in Australia, where players expect that to get to that level.
There's a lot of
They-
expectation.
They
there.
want the big salary. They want to be full time, and the expectation is like, you need to give us this so we can make it there. That's not how it used to be. And I mean, I'd be curious to know what it's like in some of these other regions. I'd be curious to know what Furia's path was like. I mean, I'm sure, I know it's big in Brazil now. I know there is money in Brazil, in CSGO and some of the other titles. But I think that the mentality, attitude, and approach in Australia isn't quite right.
If
I feel like,
look, I don't want to be that guy that says I never got paid, so you shouldn't get paid.
no,
I
shouldn't
had
be
to
like
pay
that.
my way to events, so you should have to pay your way to events. I think it's great that these guys and these kids are being paid
Oh, of
to
course.
play a computer game.
I'm
all
not
day,
saying
right?
that either. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be paid.
But they shouldn't be getting paid until they've done something to earn it. I don't think every team in the top 15 in Australia or the top 10 should be being paid a large sum of money every week when they're never going to achieve anything. Some teams are getting paid, players are being paid hundreds of dollars a week to come 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th in Australia.
Yeah.
I don't think you deserve it. And if you say to me, I can't play if I don't get paid, then it's not for you, man.
Yeah.
Go get a job, because tell me now, who's pracking between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. in Australia? Who's pracking during the day here?
Currently, there's 2 to potentially 3 teams that day scrim, but that's it. And they're all
which teams are they?
They're all the teams that are getting paid.
Which teams are they? Do you know?
Chiefs,
Yep.
Avant,
number one. Number three, arguably.
Chiefs Avant.
Chiefs aren't number one.
To be fair, I'm not sure about order. I think they do as well.
Yeah.
And also Greyhounds when they're here.
Yeah.
Problem with Greyhounds are overseas all the time now, right?
Yeah, and that's fair enough.
It is fair enough.
So
exactly.
the top three of the top four teams
Yeah.
are scrimming during the day because they're getting paid salaries.
Yes.
Everyone else, you're not getting the results. You're not putting in the time and the effort. I don't think you should be being paid the same amount or even close to those top four teams. Those top four teams, that's like a rite of passage.
How much
know?
do you value like theoretical Counter-Strike and just watching demos?
Oh, look, yeah. You have to do all that homework if you want to be a good player individually.
But how much could you do during the day that could help you on a day-to-day basis?
You don't have to do any during the day.
Okay.
And that's speaking from experience. The whole time I was in Vox and Immunity, my whole playing career, I worked a 9 to 5 office job with an hour commute and had time to do jiu-jitsu as well. And that was watching every single tournament overnight, not during prac hours. And because those tournaments, as we know, are Friday to Saturday to Sunday, not your scrim days. So and not your scrim time zone.
You were from Perth, mate. You were part of those ODCs. Started what, 5 a.m. for you? Or?
Yeah, 5 a.m. starts or whatever else.
Warm up.
Yeah. So look, that's why I say there's no excuse. I've been there.
Yeah.
And I had some okay results. Albeit I kind of don't give myself the credit because Vox, we knew if we went to CSGO first, we knew we were a crack hot team from Source. It was a Source engine. And we made a pact when we came. We said, let's put Australia on the map for CSGO and we want to go to the first international tournaments that we can so that we start getting invites. Because remember, 1.6, we would just miss out sometimes.
Oh, 100%. There was like two competitions.
Yeah.
You get an invite to.
2 a year. It was kind of like the international
WCG
for us.
And
ESWC.
If anyone bought a license to use the NVIDIA
Or Code
logos,
5.
Or Code 5 was like we
Flash in the pan.
Had to beg for a license for Code 5.
It was all
in
about
Australia.
licensing and bullshit back then.
Yeah, it's like, you have to purchase a license to use our tournament brand and goodwill.
So as Vox, we were the
sponsorship.
guys that were like, oh, we don't care how shit this game is because it came out shit.
Well,
You go back and you watch it.
I played
It
back
was
then.
disgusting.
I got a beta key from like Hoss.
But we knew it was going to be big. It had to be. There was no way it could fail. It was Counter-Strike. And everyone could see the writing on the wall for 1.6. They had to upgrade graphics engines for sponsors, for marketing. It was gone.
End of 2012.
The GFC was over now. It's time to fly.
It
And so we came back and we said, let's make CSGO a thing. We made CSGO a thing. All the other 1.6 teams in Australia, Source teams in Australia, quit. The players quit because they hated CSGO engine, whatever. They thought it was a disgrace. We stuck it out. We were the first in, the best dressed, and everyone else had to play catch up after that. Because
Random tidbit. I ran the first ever CSGO competition in Australia.
is that the trial when it was in trial still when we were in
was
immunity?
the Pantheon inaugural.
Yeah, that was. I think that was the
Yeah.
trial. We were in
And then
immunity, and then after that, we joined Vox.
Here's the best part, and every TO, every server admin, everyone that has ever run a CSGO competition will appreciate this. There was an update the morning of the competition, which
just classic Oz.
absolutely destroyed any of the servers that we were about to use.
Yeah.
Which was kind of funny because the whole point was to promote the server company
Yeah,
that was running it. But yeah, anyway.
yeah. Well, there was a lot of that. I mean, Australia TOs they deal with that every time.
What
Back
was
in
that
the day.
topic, by the way? Where are we?
That was
Salaries and Vox
Well,
Eminor
this
having
is
a head
just-
start, right?
Well, yeah, this
And
is
so-
also why it ultimately was like, well, why are we so far behind?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we knew, and we put in the effort, and we still worked all day, and we stayed ahead of the game for a very long time. And in fact, there wasn't really any competition with Vox until Athletico with JKS. JKS started to come into his own right.
I was going to say, yeah.
There was Ricky.
You stopped tracking your only competition, which was us.
Yeah, well, Sponny.
Which was Dink back in the day before.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Anyway, so
which was myself, PK,
yeah.
Cons,
Then this other
Sponny,
team
and
comes along.
JKS.
We won the Cyber Gamer Nationals, and I think that's pretty much what cemented us as number one. And MSI beat it came. We went across to Asia.
Well, you were sponsored by MSI at that point as Vox.
Yeah.
So like they came knocking because we've got an MSI sponsored team.
We said we wanted international exposure, and they gave us the opportunity. They didn't have to give us that invite to MSI beat it.
I think it was like
we
you
qualied.
and Fnatic.
We qualied. We're going to China, baby.
Yeah.
So we earned that, right? And that was a pretty good online qualifier. And we went across to Asia, and it was our first international tournament for all of us. I don't think any of us had played internationally before. And we destroyed Asia.
Well, you didn't respect them, right?
We just destroyed. Everyone was saying NXL, the number one Indonesian team, was like the Asian gods. 16-1 on Nuke.
And when I say you didn't respect him, it was the fact that you just played without fear.
We just played our own game, right? Because we had no idea what to do otherwise. We got wrecked by Very Games. I killed Scream. I deagled him one shot. He said, "Nice shot." Boom. Never. NS, never forget. We got wrecked by Very Games, and then we versed Fnatic, and we got wrecked by them too, and that was it. Oh well, we versed SK, the crappy one with Modi and stuff.
Was that? I was gonna say the one with
Delpan, maybe.
Delpan.
Yeah.
Like the reboot, like the.
There's a VOD of
Modi,
it. Vox versus SK on
Freeze.
Freeze.
Yeah.
It was on Train, and I had a particularly good game. But we lost. But anyway, so
VOD's lost forever.
How's that, right? So we go overseas, first time ever, and we just destroy Asia. And I think we were ahead of the game in Asia as well for a very long time. And this is all with full-time jobs and 2 guys going to uni full-time. So there's no excuse.
But on the sort of the other side of that, right, is now players are getting paid. They can approach it full-time.
Yes.
But also the expectation on the players to do sponsor stuff, content, and things like that for the orgs who are paying them, who are getting the money from the sponsors, is different now, right? When you guys got sponsored back then, I can't imagine it would have been lump sums of money, right? It would have been maybe like a
FYI,
video card.
I was never paid.
I was going to say,
exactly.
Sponsorship would have been different in the sense it would have been a budget to travel somewhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and you stick a logo on the jersey. You know, you thank them while you're over at the event.
Western Digital gave us a hard drive.
Perfect, right? These days, sponsorships contain far more behind them. But there's also far more expectations on not just the players, but the orgs as well, content teams for the orgs
but Sean,
deliver.
We're talking about Counter-Strike players being paid to do nothing. They're playing Counter-Strike. They have zero existence on social media. There is no content out there right now. Which org is getting money to do content on the Counter-Strike players? Because I'm not seeing any of it. How is that coming into their practice time? It's not making any difference.
There's content coming out of events, for sure.
And if
100%.
we're paying these guys full-time salaries, they're not going to work. They're sitting at home all day. They have 24 hours in a day to practice theory, watch tournaments, learn, talk together as a team. What else? Why is the skill, why is the teamwork, why is all that not going up exponentially? Because they're taking it for granted and they're not using their time wisely. I think that's the only excuse.
I also think that when you come back to Australia, I do believe the isolation thing is key.
We were isolated before we versed Asia.
I understand that, but the rest of the regions have all sort of lifted. So it goes back to what I said before with the advanced CSGO team.
Why haven't we lifted with the other regions that are isolated?
Right? I'll get into that in a second. But with the advanced CSGO team, we were playing here and scrimming here against Chiefs, against Order and Ground Zero and those sorts of teams. Yeah. And you'd get stuck in this bubble of literally just counter-strating each other in scrims. You're not approaching the practices properly.
When I was there
right?
As well.
Go overseas, and then all of a sudden there's all these holes and all these things that you thought you were legit, that you thought you had locked down, that you'd theorized, you'd practice against the other Australian teams. It worked. You go overseas, boom, doesn't work anymore.
So you're saying they're naive?
Potentially it could be a level of naivety. It could be. It comes back to what I was saying earlier about the approach to the way that we practice. The approach to the way that we do things hasn't evolved. I think overseas it has evolved. I think if you go to Asia, the way that they're approaching it is different to what they were when you versed them.
Do you know how they're approaching it?
Don't know, but I'm assuming that it's evolved.
Now, that's bringing me full circle just in my thought pattern to what you were saying earlier, in that players have moved away. Torches haven't been passed on.
That's a good point.
Experience has just disappeared over the course of time.
I mean, look at yourself. You've done some work with Legacy, right?
And Atletico.
Right, and Atletico for a short period. Mm-hmm. How many of your other sort of co-players that came up with you that you'd consider would have a decent brain for the game have given back, in your opinion? or handed off the torch?
I mean, none, right?
None. All right, that's the answer. Yeah, I mean, you've got to be fair, you've got Top Gun with F4F helping some of the younger talent and some of these players come through.
The thing is, what I bring to the table as an in-game leader, is completely different to what Top Gun would bring.
100% agree with that.
So the thing is, how many in-game leaders have stuck around after having international success?
Very, very few.
None.
I was going to say,
except for me.
Here's the interesting part is the fact that like there has been gaps for them to fill elsewhere, whether that be in commentary, analysis, content creation.
Even that's helping. I think my whole purpose for going into commentary was to spread knowledge.
Yeah.
And I went into Atletico as well to spread knowledge. I went into Legacy to spread knowledge, pass on the torch, so to speak. And for me, that I think when I first started doing commentary, I think a lot of people were just like, what is this guy talking about? I've never thought of that before. Like, well, this is so good. And then it got to a point where it's just like, this guy just yells at cloud. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but like I got that too. Like to say the same thing of myself and PK when we started commentary.
Yeah.
2 in-game leaders. We actually, our CS 1.6 team had 3 in-game leaders. We didn't have enough firepower.
Even Mike Star. Let's talk about even Mike Star. Like, this guy was
Don't talk about my boss.
in a really Mike Star.
Oh, different
Was
Mike,
really
right.
was
So like the real Mike Star.
he was a decent 1.6 player, and he knew his craft, and he could. These
He was a sick DJ.
people coming in,
Speak about that.
people coming into Counter Strike do not know everything, and they don't even necessarily know how to think about what they do. They go overseas, and then there's holes in their plan. And they're like,
How willing are they to learn though? Like, say when you were coaching and Blitz was IGLing, was
I
Blitz
don't think he was.
He wasn't IGLing?
Nah, that would have solved a few problems.
Well, who was
Was
IGLing?
Lonsdale?
Lons.
Yeah.
Okay, how willing was Lons to listen to you?
Not willing at all. But I was being paid to help them, so I kept trying to help them. Unfortunately,
It's
coaching isn't
almost like you
just
approached it as a professional.
coaching isn't just look, hey, this is how you should play, because that's not. I think Kassad might have done that when he first got to Renegades.
Yeah, it's like the 6th player, right? Without playing.
It depends how you approach it, but
Yeah.
you can't just go to any team and say, this is how I used to play. This is how we're going to win, boys. It doesn't work that way. You got to work off your players' strengths. So when I went into Legacy, I didn't go in and say, stop what you're doing, turn it off, destroy the strat book, which they didn't have, and do it my way. I just went in and said, you're doing all these things. Let's see where we can find improvement. And so that was the only way that I could provide value until they started to see the light. And I don't think they really did see the light until we went to a LAN. And they were sitting around just with their hands in their head the night before going, we're getting trashed in practice, CGA players. And I'm going, well, can I speak now? And then it was like, okay, let's take some stuff on board. And then they had a pretty good turnout at a LAN. And I think after that, it was like people in the team were just like, okay, we're receptive to being coached now. It shouldn't have had to have gotten to that point. But I think that's where people just naturally are. I don't think you can just come in and be like, I'm an ex-champion, national champion like 7 times.
So
listen to
basically,
me.
you have to perform open brain surgery.
You can't take a horse to water, right?
Yeah.
Like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
But I've seen that across many different titles where the players themselves feel like that they know their craft in the game better than anybody else possibly could.
Well,
right?
it's a confirmation bias, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Dunning-Kruger.
but another thing I wanted to bring up, and it goes to the point you guys were talking about. Back when you guys were playing, there was a plethora of in-game leaders. And I'm not talking about a player who was like, oh, okay, you in-game
Well, we
lead
had 2 in our team in Vox.
well, exactly. You've got the most experience, you in-game lead.
They're 3.
These days, if you want to talk about dedicated in-game leaders, it's one of the hardest roles to fill in Australian CS right now. You look at order.
No one wants to do it.
No one wants to do it. I mean,
Because they look at that HLTV stat and they go, oh, 0.9
Well, I
rating.
was going to say everything that is currently on incentive-based like platforms for players to some degree is
Doesn't
stat-based,
reward it.
is stat-based.
Yeah.
Everyone looks at their faces stats, their
Oh,
Instafrag
Sniper's
stats.
stats are so bad.
Well, for
Yeah.
a while as well, it's like anyone that's IGL'd and their stats go down the drain, then all of a sudden they're the ones on the chopping block because they're the problem. So that's another reason why people don't want to be the IGL.
well, yeah, it's true.
You've automatically
IGL
just-
automatically, is like the first person people like look at. But if you look at the top teams now in our region, right? So who's IGLing for Chiefs?
Off now, isn't it? Oh no, it's Blitz now.
Blitz, right?
Blitz.
Was he always an IGL? Was that
Blitz
his
is
passion?
smart though.
Yeah, I
he
know,
knows what to do
100%
to get into a better team.
100% agree with that, right?
Bad head, though.
But was that his role, right? Because it wasn't his role in Legacy, yeah.
It was after I left
Okay, so he's kind of filled in on that.
because he sees a gap. Blitz is very smart. He's
Look,
not just a player.
Yeah,
He's
smart,
he's
smart dude.
going for the
Yeah.
career, right? So the moves he's making are he was a top AWPer. I think he was probably one of the best AWPers in the nation when he was in Legacy. He gave that up to Rifle to
Yeah.
be an in-game leader because I think Sterling came into AWP, and that says to me that he's a mature professional player and he's going to have success.
Yep, and I agree with you. there.
And then as an in-game leader, he hasn't been bad because what I notice in him as well is he watches the demos and he
Yeah.
takes it in and he learns. He also is receptive to feedback and he doesn't take it personally.
So
Whereas
he's
we all
actual
know
professional.
the fractured egos of
I was
CSGO
gonna say
players.
that's
100%.
actually a real world skill too, being able to separate business from personal.
And like you said
Yes.
before, coming from a sporting background,
Mm.
Blitz I think he was like a professional tennis player at one point.
Yeah, I think you've linked me.
I blew your mind with
Yeah,
a
I was
photo
gonna
of
say,
a younger
like
Blitz.
young Blitz.
Mm.
But
Fly
and
to
I
the
think
ballroom.
he knows what it takes to get there.
to
and,
win,
And
right?
he'll get there.
So let's look at look at orders IGL. It's EMAG at the moment, correct? Is that
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mac,
You've played
He's
with
wearing the
I
shirt.
laughed my ass off when I saw that.
You've played with him, right?
Announcement.
In
Yeah,
teams,
yeah,
and you've in-game led for him,
Yeah.
right? In teams. He traditionally wasn't an in-game leader for almost the entirety of his
he
career
couldn't have
and-
been an in-game leader.
till order, correct? So he
Yeah.
wasn't in-game leading when he went overseas in Winter Fox, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't in-game leading.
Dexter was.
Dexter was. He wasn't in-game leading in Australia prior to order, right?
Oh,
I can't think of-
I don't think he was, man.
No.
Like, let's be honest, because when I saw he was in-game leading for order, I was just like, no way.
Okay, well then
I was gonna
that's
say,
my
it's
point,
just
right?
defaulted to the
But-
most experienced.
Exactly, it's just
Passing on
defaulted.
the torch.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
And
player. Everyone
to his
thinks
credit
you've got
as
to be an
well,
IGL to pass on the torch. mate. That's the thing. Yeah.
well, he didn't have to be an IGL, but I think in that particular roster, it just made sense. And he was willing to do it because, and it's a smart choice. I think that's what's kept him in order all this time. I also don't think his stats were particularly bad for an IGL. And I think he probably showed that if anyone had good stats already, they could be an IGL if they wanted to be.
Well, if you want to talk about that too, how about Azza?
Yes.
In Renegades.
Like, do you think
A
he's
little bit different. I think I'm going to cop out a little bit here on him because he's got the full-time coach of Kassad,
Mhm.
and that is like unparalleled. Like Kassad is a god.
Okay.
So
I've seen his text files.
you can I know those guys, right? So I know them. I played with them on a personal level. I know what they would be capable out in the desert on their own like I was, and it was not what they are able to achieve these days. Like the way that Renegades and Aaron called when they made the Legends, that would not be achievable without Kassad. Absolutely no way.
Well, they
in
had
such a short time?
good momentum running into that as well.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is broken.
so but this brings me back.
It'd be exactly the same as EMAG. I'd
Yeah.
just be like, no way, that's not happening. But
Yeah.
it's passing on the torch in terms of
What's
Aaron.
happening
He's
there?
been around
Yeah.
forever with me. Like he was there with me at the start. So yeah, he could well be a capable IGL, especially with coaching,
Mm.
because he's just been around forever.
And when you were IGLing, did you transition into IGL from a fragger?
No, I was like Blitz, and I was like, this is my in.
Yeah. So you
And
was
plus, I'm good at it.
dedicated IGL. So this goes full circle back to my point. We don't have many dedicated IGLs from the get-go or people who are coming in Australia, right? Like we used to. Like when you guys first
What about
transitioned
Jara?
out. Well, Jara is one of them. Jara is one. He's what?
One among how many?
He's 19.
That we
I think.
know of.
19 at the
True.
moment.
Well, see, the thing is, I have got
Do you
no
think they need to
idea.
come out as
I've got
IGLs?
no idea what anyone is doing in any team. And even when I was casting ESL, AU, NZ, all that stuff, I'm going, do we know who the in-game leader is for these guys? Because they don't say anything on Twitter. There's no graphics. There's no, this is our IGL.
Yeah, you have to ask.
You've got to
gotta
ask
ask to
someone
find
who
out.
knows. You've got to ask a player.
Well, Jara is one of those rare sort of players who has come into CSGO with. So he's actually got a background in. We talk about sports and stuff like that. He's actually
Yeah.
got a background as a scout leader. All right. I don't know if he'll be upset with me.
I was pretty
mentioning
good
that,
with the scout.
but he was.
Some would say I was a leader with the scout.
He's an. So he's.
That's
he
not
was.
what we're talking
No,
about.
it's not what we're talking about.
I'll pin it for now.
He was a scout leader, right? So he had, I guess,
Bad you about it.
training to some degree on actually leading, a group of people in certain situations. He's brought that into CSGO. He's still got a lot to learn in CSGO being a young person, but that is his dedicated role. He hasn't been slotted into it's not like the boys have come in and gone, oh, okay, yeah, you IGL because you'd be the best at it. He's come into CSGO from even back 12 months, 18 months ago when, he was sort of popped up on the radar of a few different people.
I think
where
he was in the team that beat Legacy at
I think so. In which
ACL. What was that amateur league that they went to?
AEM?
Adelaide? AEM, that's the one, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he is a dedicated IGL, and watching even the way he approaches his work and what he does and how he structures it, he brings all the things in that you'd expect from someone in that position. And I actually think, it's quite refreshing, but here's one of the only ones I can think of right now of sort of young up and comers who was a dedicated IGL. I feel like even when I was playing, my little Div 2 teams and things like that, we'd put these teams together and everyone would sit there and go, right, who's IGL?
You don't want the youngest guy doing it.
Well, he's not the youngest guy in this team.
He's pretty young.
He is pretty young.
But I'm saying if he was in another team with EMAG or something, you wouldn't want Gyro to be the IGL. But he's damn good. Gyro's damn good. He's got international experience now.
Well, he's only going to keep going like this.
He is
I was gonna say,
Like, he's going to keep...
Like,
There's a market for IGLs, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're a
100%.
player, we've said this too. Like, if you want to get into a team, being an IGL is a fast track way of doing that. It's also a fast track way of being kicked from.
yeah,
Look,
exactly.
But it was the demise of Atletico.
You've got to be good.
That Texter Atletico team that we mentioned
Sonic.
before, right? When Sonic was gone, right? This is before they went to when it was Dick Stacey and co, right? In that team,
like
not the Sonic, not the infrequent, the dark sided,
Dark-sided,
So not the Sonic one.
run.
The demise of that team, from my memory, because obviously I was a little bit involved with Atletico at the time, not so much with the performance side, but got a sort of inside look at that. Their biggest demise was finding out who's going to be IGL. They had all of them there. It got swapped between. I remember Tyson, our housemate, was IGLing for a bit. It then got passed on to Flicks. It then got shuffled around. Players were getting dropped and kept in based on the fact that I'll give it a crack.
Well, that
you know what I mean? So Dick
Stacey.
Stacey ended up leaving that lineup and ended up doing really well with Grayhound. So it was a really good decision for him. But he left that lineup over Flicks at the time, I think it was, right? Because Flicks put his hand up and said, I'll IGL, which kept him his spot. Yeah, had he not done that, it may have been him.
He was pretty good, though.
He was pretty good.
They had Badger as well.
Yeah, they
and
did
all
have
that
Badger.
stuff, so like that.
And they had, was it Chutch? Yeah, was it Chutch in that team?
No.
Chutch was in the early one. I get a bit confused.
Remember,
with the
Darksided
rosters.
was this team that just appeared
And
out of
Sync.
nowhere.
Yeah,
It was
Sync.
Sync,
Yeah,
and
it
they
was
just
Sync,
hadn't changed lineup forever. Everyone thought they were cheating, but they just grew over
It was
time.
chemistry.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening with that team was not being able to have a dedicated IGL killed that team. And they actually couldn't find one. When they went out and
Well,
looked
Flicks
them
ended
out,
up being a bloody good one after all.
well, he ended up being pretty good, but it took time though. You know what I mean?
He was
You have
actually a
to,
really good lurk clutch player.
yeah, but that's where his strength is. That's where he should be, right? And I actually think that he was able to maintain pretty good numbers while IGLing, but he still wasn't that dedicated IGL that,
I think so. What happened with that team was they came up out of nowhere. They found some success doing some stuff that they had copied, and then it wasn't working anymore. And they were like, "What do we do?" Because we've kind of hit a ceiling.
yes.
None of them had any experience in IGLing,
No.
and they all looked at each other instead
Yes.
of going, "Let's get someone who does have experience."
No, but they tried that. I remember distinctly them looking out.
But
and then-
unfortunately, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Because and if that means killing the team, like sure they were a good team, but if that means killing the team and all of you go your separate ways, like they have, that's where you learn.
Yeah,
And
no, I agree.
there is a problem with teams sticking together and players not learning enough. Because the best thing is cross pollination. When we were dying every 2 weeks, people were like, "Oh man, OzCS is getting shit." It's like, no, actually, every time people remade, it was stronger. I remember 1.6 when it was just like APOC jumping around. And then like after F0 died, it was just like a cluster.
I was going to say it was very state-based still.
Yeah.
Like Immunity actually were like one of the teams that went, well, actually, we'll take, Ferg from WA.
Yeah.
We'll take Ben Orr. We'll take Cram.
And
we'll
why?
throw these guys in.
All these guys were in the top 4 teams, all from different states. And then they all came together and shared this knowledge and made like a super team. Exactly what we did in Immunity and Source. Exactly what we did when we made Vox. We weren't state-based and we were all from the top 2 teams in the game before. Vox merged with Top Gun and Aza from Vox Eminor, and Immunity was me, Moe, and Havoc. We moved across. Moe quit CSGO. We got Sponge. So then it was this cross-pollination of all these ideas and all these things that we had made us successful in the past in one team.
Yeah.
Something that's relevant to that right now is Avant. They're the first team in a long time that sort of just pulled people from a couple of teams, gone together, all of a sudden beating everyone.
Well, I mean, look at who's in that team as well. You've got APOC, who's been around for donkey ages. Like before I even started playing 1.6, I think APOC was around.
I was going to say, yeah.
Only player in Australia to win national titles in 1.6 Source and CSGO.
Yeah, that's not really fair. But anyway. Yeah.
Terrible stat.
Good on him, though. He won the last Source Nats. It took him a while, but he got there.
That's how the pros did it.
I think he won a Nats in Arcade as well, actually, I think as well. So it's pretty good. But basically, yeah, they have APOC, who has the knowledge of a legend, right? Forever. More overseas experience than maybe anyone.
He's got stats that are like etched into slate tablets.
Yeah.
Like, that's how old.
Do you remember like the prac demos that he recorded in 1.6 and how they went viral afterwards?
Everyone's got some.
So you've got him,
Some
you've got
archives.
Soju, who was part of that whirlwind tour with Legacy and IEM and all of that stuff.
He got a taste.
Yeah, you got a taste of international, right? Because if you're in IEM, you boot camp.
Yep.
And you get to boot camp against the pros.
Yep.
Might as well be overseas. So then you have the rest of the guys in Avant as well. Can't remember their names at the moment.
Sterling on the
Sterling was in Greyhound, so
Yes,
he has the
Sterling.
major experience.
Yep,
You know,
he's got a sticker in the game.
so that was that cross pollination, like I was saying. Yeah, exactly. So it does work out. And Jira, for a guy, Jara, however you pronounce his stupid name, for coming out of nowhere.
Sniper in HD.
Well, yeah, I'm glad he did.
J1 Ra.
J1. Oh, okay. But basically, good on
JK
him for doing
Savage.
what he's done because he's come out of nowhere and he's got knowledge, and that's hard to get out of nowhere. But he's obviously soaked it up like something that's very porous.
Sponge.
And a lot of knowledge. Yeah, that's soaked it up.
Yeah.
And
then you've
that's
got-
the skill.
Speaking of soaking up, we're
That's
starting
the
to soak
skill.
up a bit of time here.
But there's also Hazard.
That is-
the fucking turret.
I like that concept of Ian just going on a rant.
Well, just to preface this,
We
we didn't
call it-
actually get to introduce Ian's segment.
No, he just sort of took it.
Yeah. which is named.
Give me an inch.
You can't remember?
I could do with a leg up.
Give me an inch.
You didn't let me.
Sniper's scope.
Big scopes, isn't it?
It was a long
Nothing
scope,
quick.
actually.
Nothing quick about that.
Could we rename it to Gimme an Inch?
Yeah.
What, because he takes a mile?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
no.
Oh dear. All right, cool. Let's talk some quick light topics. Obviously, we've covered a lot.
Okay, one
So
of the
far-
main topics that we completely dodged was the roster rumors. Did
I'll
we
go
want to
touch
touch on
on
that?
That's
Ooh,
a
okay.
that's a light topic.
We'll
By
light-
the way,
Yeah,
I've got no idea about that. Go
yeah,
for it.
okay. This might be a good chance.
This is
Someone
Mac.
else-
This is Mac's
someone
segment,
else.
I reckon.
Is it? Because
It's-
everyone else was talking
All right,
about the...
Jim. All right.
Someone else is trying to talk.
No, well, actually, I heard the other day about Ian's.
Really?
Well, I mean,
I didn't
that's
want to out you on
No,
that.
Mac. I think this is Mac's area.
Okay, so
He's
let's-
got a finger on the pulse.
Anyway, let's talk roster rumors. Mac, now, as you said, you've been privy sometimes to just play a chat. You're actively casting in the scene.
Yeah.
You've got a better idea to some degree as to what's going on in some of these circles.
It's true.
Usually.
Give me something juicy.
Yeah, what's
Okay,
going on?
I've heard from a bird that there is going to be a big shuffle up the top, and it all starts with Urcast's visa.
Ooh, and we're not talking to school
Well,
dance.
we all knew that there was issues, right?
Mm.
With him leaving Australia, he might not be able
He's
to come
going
back.
to MasterCard.
stop it.
Get out.
Continue.
So him
Actually-
having some visa issues, apparently he may not be able to come back to Australia for a while, hence rumours, speculation. Got to preface it all with
Now,
this.
just to give some weight to that, right? He's here currently studying. Has he completed his studies? Is
I
sort of
actually-
why the visa has maybe
I think he has finished.
expired? Because if you're a student here on a visa,
Mhm.
you can't really stay too much longer after you've completed your study.
No. Well, that's what the law would suggest.
Because they've recently, I believe, changed some of those stipulations around that.
We got too many Jimmy Grants, basically.
Yeah. I haven't heard that for a while.
Well, basically, so what you're saying is, rumour mill is Urquhart on the way out after the major.
Yep. Okay.
This
And
is
you
breaking ground. Like,
These just always just seem to ruin Australian teams.
2 and 2 together is 4. And that's how many people are going to be left in Greyhound when Urquhart has no visa.
Quick math.
Crazy. So, who's going to fill the void? Rumor has it from a bird, obviously, no names. And it's all speculation, so it may not be true. But someone from Order is being picked out.
I'd say in straight up. He's in Elo Hell. You say who, we don't know who, but it's like who should be in Greyhound.
Yeah.
I think Lynn's got debated into going to Order because Liaz was there, and that would have been like a sick Smash Brothers combo. As soon as he gets in, bang, Liaz is off to bloody Renegades. Poor guy.
Yeah, I was going to say there wasn't really much of an overlap with
Yeah.
those two.
And then you look at Liaz as well, and Renegades getting shafted with shit spots like Holden B or Mirage, been there, done that. But basically, Inns deserves this shot, and it would be great if he gets it because Order is Elo Hell. They've gone through this getting Zeph. I thought that was a stupid idea.
Well, you said it was like a top tier team shouldn't be a development squad.
Yeah.
Or like it shouldn't be a development
Well,
experiment.
I think Zeph suffered from being out of position in Order.
Yeah.
Well,
Like that.
the whole
I
team
think that's
suffered.
fair to say.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
get a guy who's a newbie and put him out of position? Just get a good player and put them out of position. Wouldn't you just do that?
Oh, look, I don't
not
think that's
fair
fair
on
to
anyone.
Zeph.
It's not fair on anyone.
Yeah.
no.
I think Zeph was doing incredibly well before joining Order.
There was hype.
And then I also believe that since he's left and he's popped up for SYF when they beat, I think they did that run in which I can't remember what tournament it
LPL?
was. It might have been
Was it
LPL.
LPL?
No, I don't, was it LPL? Might have been. I can't
Wait,
remember.
what was the
They did the run
SYF.
where
SYF LPL? Yeah.
and SYF didn't they win that off the back of
Yeah,
Zeph?
they won that.
Yeah, and Zeph put up huge numbers.
I think Zeph started calling for them as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's gone in, started calling,
Learnt from an
and
Order.
yep, and went massive. And
Yep.
I think that he's an incredibly talented player that was out of
Wow.
position in Order.
That's so good for Order.
What?
Well, it is, yeah,
It's not. It's good for
It
Zeph.
is.
Now Zeph is probably going to beat Order no matter what team he joins.
potentially.
Order
Always
making
the narrative.
mistakes.
Always the narrative.
Yeah, and then you've got this Valiance pickup. Who's this guy? Like, I'm sure everyone's like, oh, he's popping off. That's not what you want to do as a top 3 team. Let someone else teach him how to play. You don't sacrifice your own results for somebody else's future. Like, what is this crap?
Look, I'm hearing that just from the rumor mill that I'm hearing that with Valiance it started a bit slow with Order, but now he's actually they're doing quite well and
sure
he's
it
playing
will.
quite well.
Sure it will.
We'll see how it goes when it comes to officials
I mean,
as we
If
play
only
through
these
it.
players tweeted.
Well, exactly, yeah. But I mean, like to go back to what Mac was talking about and the little rumors was, that Inns thing kind of popped up a few weeks back, right? And I don't think anyone really gave it any credence. I remember I heard it and was like, okay, whatever. This is just another sort of rumor. It wasn't until the Urquhart stuff popped up that it's like, wait a second, maybe there is legs with this.
I noticed it when Order started shitting the bed. And I was like, how come Inns is on the bottom of the scoreboard all the time? I was like, I don't know if this is just like him trying to get out of his contract. I don't know if it's him just being shit. But I was like, this is not the guy that we've seen so many times before. He did get hyped up pretty hard before the Order joined. And I think in Order, he's just done nothing.
Well,
Order haven't won anything.
Well, I think we're like unfortunately for Order, if you look at that roster on paper,
It's God tier.
it is God tier.
Yeah.
It really is. If you break it down to the individual players, it is God tier. Their results for the past 12, other than
I was
winning
going to say they won the
Gfinity,
Elite Series.
other than Gfinity, right? But like I'm talking,
I was there.
Credible.
I
Yeah.
saw it.
They won AU and Z champs as well.
Yes, but who was there?
Yeah.
Greyhounds pulled out, didn't they?
No one.
No, Greyhounds was overseas.
Greyhounds was overseas. Avant wasn't there. Avant just beat him in 2 best of 3s for the minor. That shouldn't have happened. I'm glad it
It
did.
was genuine, wasn't it? They played against.
Yeah, it was genuine.
Chiefs
Because Chiefs
dropped the
lost.
ball.
Yeah, they dropped the ball big time in that particular
So
tournament.
they won a...
So they beat Genuine in a land final, right? So that's good. It's good for them to get a win. But like you asked them, that's not what they're after. They
Yeah.
want these international qualifiers.
Yeah.
They want to be going overseas.
They have a lineup for international qualifiers.
100% have a lineup. They've got an experienced lineup too, right? That's the other thing. Avant goes overseas and it was great for them, but we're a young team. Other than Mike, than APOC.
That's why I think it's just time that team died.
So, well,
Like, honestly, just kill it
look,
and remake it with, merge with Chiefs or Icon or whatever you want to call them. and just
Haven't they done enough merging?
Start again. Just start again for all of them, because that team on its own is just not going to work. Yeah, you're doing all right now. Occasionally getting to grand finals and coming third all the time. It's like Greyhounds have got a hold now. There's no way
Greyhounds number one. Yeah.
No one's going to come and take Greyhounds thrown away from them unless they really cock up. This Urcast thing, only good stuff can come from this, I think, because Urcast, while he was really good overseas
Very, very good.
in the quals, I'm just like, and obviously to get into the major, I think Urcast saved the day a couple of times, not to mention Malta, obviously, with the 40 bomb.
Man's on fire.
That he saved the day, right? He deserved every bit of blowjob he probably got from Dick afterwards. But basically, just that's not good enough. And if that was me, if that was Vox, like I think we lost one tournament and I was out of Vox. Then you've got Immunity. We won the split qualifier for Counterpit.
Yep.
I still got kicked.
I was there. I saw that.
Yeah, like
Commentated it.
there shouldn't be this arrogance of we'll get them next time, and not looking at why you suck and going, okay, we've got 4 of the best players in the country in one team. What are we doing wrong? Let's just keep doing what we're doing. Comes back to what you were saying about not changing things up.
Yep.
Like, just change the lineup. Just having the most 4 best skilled players doesn't make a great team. We've seen it many times before.
Best example, Tainted.
Yeah.
Oh, great example.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you got to. The thing is with Counter-Strike as well. I mean, it's not as obvious as like real sport where the player is on camera all the time.
Yeah.
Could we just call it traditional sport, not real sport?
Come on in.
Just want to preface that, please.
Yeah.
It's personality is like a huge part of Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
And teammates and stuff. Like, if you don't get along with your teammates and you're having a shit time, it's not going to breed success.
True. You're in an environment where you've literally got
You can
to turn up and work with
if you can't be
people.
professional because there's this personal barrier, it's not going to breed success.
Yeah.
I think, and this is, I guess, maybe an unpopular opinion, but I'll put it out there. I think one of the biggest problems with Order, and this is not a slight at EMAG, who is their in-game leader. I think he has a role in that team.
That's kind of like saying I'm not racist, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a leadership problem. I think that they are lacking proper leadership in the sense to, you look at it. They've got 4 of the best players in the country by your own sort of admission there, and they're trying to solve a problem by just adding in more firepower. That's what Zeph was. The Zeph pickup, more firepower. Okay, Zeph didn't work. Okay, let's go get Valiant, more firepower.
But the Zeph thing didn't work because it was a newbie. He
was out of position.
Firepower.
He was out of position. But it's the same with Valiants, right?
Well, firepower out of position's shit power.
Yeah, well, but that's my point. They've brought in Valiants now, super sharp player. He was literally carrying his teams that he was in prior to this when they're having little upset results against
amateur leagues.
No, I'm talking about against.
He upset Order a couple of times.
Order.
That's how you get in a good team.
Yeah, but like he was a standout performer on those rosters that were causing those upsets. Too.
Yeah.
And he was consistently doing that. So he is firepower.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. He is firepower. Order have now gone with another option of, okay, let's bring in more firepower. I don't think that's their problem. I think they've got plenty of firepower on that roster. I think they have a leadership issue, right? And it's not a slight at EMAG. I'm not saying that it's an in-game leader problem. I'm saying it's a leadership issue.
Well, admittedly, he tried to fix a problem before with firepower and it didn't work out well.
No, but I think that's the problem there. I think that if they keep trying to solve this issue that they're having with no, they don't. Elmer's not with them anymore.
But they had Elmer.
They did have Elmer, but Elmer's like, and I think Elmer's great at what he does, but he's more of an analyst and breaks down stuff for the team.
I think that's enough.
But that doesn't solve the leadership problem that I'm saying that they have. I believe there's a leadership problem within Order, and I think that it's not going to get solved by adding more firepower.
Well, who do you think that they're going to bring in as a leader? Because they will need someone else if Ince disappears.
I am not sure who they go to, because it comes back to what we were talking about earlier of
they got Ali, so they're not going to pick up
really good leaders within OCE sort of CSGO right now. I mean, you could potentially make an argument that
I'd kill the whole team.
Moe could help.
No.
But I mean, the problem with Moe, and I love the dude, is that he just can't seem to find his feet in any of these rosters that he goes to.
Let's just FYI preface all of this that we don't hate anyone personally.
Absolutely not.
And if we do, we'll say.
100% will.
Okay, let me preface that. I will say, if I hate someone, I have a bad opinion about them. I'll make it very clear.
No, we're talking strictly CSGO.
I don't hate Moe,
No.
but he's done.
Yeah, potentially. I think I
Done
have to
or
agree with
dumb?
Done.
Okay.
It's not dumb.
No, he's not done.
No.
He's
I
funny.
remember last time someone said someone was done. Didn't go down well.
Yeah, no one wants to play with him. I love the guy.
Yeah.
He's burnt every bridge.
Yeah.
I think the only way he gets into a team is if the top teams just collapse in an off season, which is kind of now, and remake it with like a Order Chiefs merge, and Moe swindles his way in. He'll have to take a back seat and let someone else lead because he's proven.
I don't think he'll do that.
I know. That's why I say he's done, because he's proven he's had opportunities to lead. He's had opportunities to lead good players, and it hasn't turned out well. And to hear that he gave up in-game leading in Ground Zero as well, it's like, well, what are you in Ground Zero for now?
Yeah.
And he has the intelligence, but I think he has so much riding on Counter-Strike that the pressure, I think I was in the same spot, and this is why it was very difficult to play with. It's because you just become like a whiny bitch. You know, because you can see things that other people can't see, and they don't like hearing about it.
Yeah.
And you will tell them about it because it means so much to you.
Yeah.
And you have so much passion and drive to be successful. You don't see personal. You don't see that you're upsetting someone and you're saying that they're stupid. Like
it also comes down to like other things as well, in the sense that yes, there's that, but then your patience grows thinner.
it's super. It's not. There's zero.
It grows thinner, right? So you start to forget things that, like, for example, if you're my teammate, you don't take feedback that well in a public forum.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, you know, I'm starting to call things out, and then that makes you play worse.
Yeah.
You prefer feedback in a one-on-one, individualized manner.
Anyone who calls out their own teammate in social media or to any teammate anywhere.
Well, I'm talking public forum, as in like the whole team's
And
there.
within the whole team. Yeah, and Jim's dead right. That's part of like stuff you get taught about, even just in management roles and things like that. Providing feedback to
the thing is, none of these kids are managers, but
but providing feedback to people.
One-on-one.
You identify. Some people actually benefit from being called out in front of the teammates, right? Some people benefit much more from having it sort of that one-on-one behind the scenes, and a good leader will be able to identify that between his teammates and then act appropriately on each one. But coming back to Order and the question, like I put forward about the leadership, I don't know who they go to. Okay, let's say Ins goes. Let's do the hypothetical. All right, Urcast has visa issues, ends up in this Mongolian super team.
Yeah.
Ins gets picked up for Grayhound, right? Who do Order get? Now you got to remember too, the rest of that team. You've got superstars. You're talking about Hats. You've got Ali. You've got Emag. If you're like a young up and coming leader, you go in there, you're going to get eaten alive. Like you're not going to be able to.
Well, no, because there should be that respect. I don't like these. Like,
I'm not sure that that's the case.
No,
though.
there should. Okay, there should be respect.
I agree. Yeah.
So, like, I remember when I went and tried to play for Legacy, and you would think I would have some respect, but it was me, Havoc, Top Gun, Lightstep, and APOC.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of shit behind me to go back in there and open up those holes in my back, and the respect just wasn't there.
No.
And it was because we weren't getting results straight away.
Yeah.
I'm like, mate, I'm not a miracle worker. And also, I was giving critical feedback, and some of those players can't take feedback.
No.
And they're notorious for it, and that's why some of them don't play anymore.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't grow. And I think Moe is going to be one of those players that if he can't take feedback from his teammates as well, then he won't be able to grow anymore. And he can watch as many comps as he likes. And it's about getting your team on the same page, I think. And when you talk about who's going to go join Order, that's why I think that team needs to die. No one can join Order and fix that. I don't see Emag not being an in-game leader now. He's got more experience than anyone else. I don't think even Jira could go in there and tell Emag how to play.
But I mean, I'm not even necessarily saying in-game leader. When I say leadership, I'm also talking about banding the team together. They don't actually have to be the in-game leader. Emag can still be the dude crawling and things like that. But bringing a fresh sort of, approach to what they're doing. And I don't think it's going to happen either. I can't see it happen. Order, if you're out there, you can prove us wrong, right? But I also don't see it happening. And it's sad because that roster
don't
is...
think Order will be out there.
I've got two names that have come to mind while you guys have had that conversation.
Please.
Just to preface that.
APOC Dud?
I was going to say, let me just preface that.
You preface that first.
Prove us wrong, because like in these instances, I love being proved
Oh,
wrong.
100%.
It's
Yeah.
just purely
Yeah.
like
If this doesn't
like-
fire you up, nothing
yeah,
will.
exactly. This is.
I remember there was a
speculation,
peanut
but yeah, continue.
gallery that used to fire
Oh
me
man,
up.
Two names
Those
that I'd
guys.
like to see given a shot. Throw Ali back on the rifle because they were going pretty well. They were making international competitions when Ali was on the rifle. He's much better upper, but he can fill that spot fine. Apoc Dud, he's been playing crazy recently for Genuine.
Okay.
He's also the IGL. He's also the AWPA. I don't know if him or Ali is better for the AWPA for that whole chemistry of the team.
Why not both? People need two ops.
Exactly. Could definitely work, but you got Hats as well, who's monster when he touches the op sometimes.
It's true.
And the other name that comes to mind, Chelios.
Chelios, yeah, look, a good player, puts up big numbers. Mac, my question to you,
I want
right?
him to be in a top.
My question to
Give
you
him a
on
chance.
both those players.
Yeah.
If either one of those players go into that team, what do you think the chances are that the rest of that team is actually going to rally behind what they're saying and change up their approach?
It's not going to happen.
Well,
Right?
Chel's
'Cause you've
not an
got,
IGL.
You've got well, he's
But-
not, no, but you've got some big talent in that team, right? That have been around for a long time, would all have a pretty solid idea about how things should be done.
Yeah.
You bring in someone young, like an Apoc Dud, I think he gets eaten alive in that roster.
I think you bring.
Maybe.
I think he just gets. I think he gets contained.
I roast him pretty heavily anyway.
Yeah,
I
but
think
it's not
that's-
about the roasting.
that's
It's about the
culture.
inability
Yeah.
to actually create the change that needs to happen.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see it happening.
I just don't. I really.
But
yeah.
if
I was
it
gonna
did
say-
happen,
And that's nothing against Apoc
That's
Dud.
Yeah.
culture,
Yeah.
and that comes from having people buy into that being the solution and that the philosophy moving forward.
yeah.
If, you,
So
if
it's
the
a
rest of the team
cultural-
are buying into it, then maybe it works.
And then that's not
Nah.
to say that we know the culture within the team, but that's just to say that like for that to work and that situation not to occur, that requires good culture. And if they do have that will potentially
Yeah.
be a
Here's
solution
the
for
thing,
moving
Jim. I
forward.
think like, do you remember watching that shitty Tainted Minds lineup that had like Yaman and Inns and Offner and Zusi, and
the one that like was
Just-
the new super team.
yeah, and it just failed miserably.
Was it APOC with
It was like the team of nearlies. It was like the almost team. They
had-
almost
had-
came first. They almost qualified. They almost every time.
They had so much potential.
Why didn't it succeed? Do you think? What do you guys think that didn't succeed?
To be fair, I think there was too much of an ego somewhere along the line.
They had
Not to
Yam.
say it was well.
No,
Potentially,
I'm not saying that's why they didn't succeed. Oh shit! I was like, that's
Potentially-
the guy we forgot to mention.
yeah. That's here he is. The problem.
No, he
No.
was. There was a 5-man lineup.
No.
Inns, Offner, Zusi,
Potentially, but you had players.
guns.
You had gun. You had a lot of firepower. Maybe there was too many chefs in the kitchen trying to cook.
Yeah, I heard that there was just a tilt problem, like a silent tilt problem, and there was too much
That's
headbutting.
what it was. In my opinion, that's what it was.
Because they had no excuse. If you look at that roster on paper, insane. They were getting paid ridiculous amounts, like
Yeah.
record-setting amounts for Australian CSGO.
Yeah.
Right. So they had everything covered for them as far as they full time. They had all the skill in the world. They had international talent. They had
So
in-game
you're telling
leaders.
me they had what all these players
Dreamed of.
dreamed of,
Yeah.
and thought would be a perfect environment
Yeah.
and solution. for
Yeah.
continuing.
They
All these
had the-
upcoming players, should I
And
say?
so to me,
To
and
Tainted's credit, Tainted provided them everything.
that's
right.
because that's what your job is, right? Your
Yeah.
job is to give these guys every leg up they can get, every inch they can get to make them
No.
succeed. And if you did that for the 5 best players in the country, you should have success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
But
did.
but the thing Tainted didn't provide, I think, was what you're kind of alluding to. You're calling it leadership,
Correct.
but I'm calling it management.
Right. Okay.
And so basically, what I think was missing, what we're seeing is the exact same thing with Order,
Mm.
where there must be tension in that team.
They had Ferg as a coach.
Yeah.
Ferg super experienced guy. I can
Yeah,
talk
of course.
Like any one of us
Taught me
hours.
Ferg's doing
almost
some great
everything I
stuff.
know.
But even that wasn't enough.
Well, Ferg's doing great stuff with Chiefs at the moment, I
Yeah,
believe.
exactly.
He was their
What
coach
can
at
you
the
do
time.
in a toxic environment? Like I said, you got to have this thing that breeds success, professionalism, and getting along. If you don't have that, or at least one of those things, you will not breed success.
As I said, one of the most experienced Counter-Strike players you'll find also works in multiple different professional corporate environments and has done previously. Would recognize these problems, still couldn't change the fact that
It's true. Couldn't.
it wasn't working.
And so that's what Order has. I think Order don't like each other. There's definitely a problem within that lineup, and I'd like to hear if there isn't, if they're all best friends, Why do they keep changing lineups? Sicko was the problem, but Sicko and Hats was a great combo. You get rid of Sicko, Hats isn't as good anymore. It doesn't have that firepower that he had with Sicko, that tag team.
Was it get rid of Sicko or did Sicko get poached?
It was get rid of Sicko. I don't care what anyone says. It was get rid of Sicko.
Okay.
All right.
Then they get this lineup together, still no success. New lineup, okay, let's get rid of Zeph. Let's get this guy in, see what happens. But now Inz is gone, they're going to have to do something.
Well, we don't know that. It's rumour.
No,
We don't-
it is rumour. It is rumour.
Now that Inz is gone.
Yeah, now that wow.
It's
Breaking news.
100% rumour, and I'm going to laugh out loud if it comes real.
Okay, so-
If it comes real. If it doesn't come to fruition,
No more okay so's.
let me finish.
We're
Let me
almost
finish.
2 hours deep.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
People,
I was gonna quickly
we can cut
preface
this
that.
up.
I was going to say, we can quickly preface that. Why are we being so off the throttle with, we're saying this is just rumor. We don't want to hurt people. Because people are going to take this sort of stuff out of context.
Yeah.
As personal attacks.
Yeah.
You're going to try and score points.
Yeah.
That's the nature of
The internet.
The internet,
Yeah.
the environment that we're
I already
in at the
said
moment.
there's no personal attacks, otherwise
Exactly.
I'd say.
Exactly. But like no one's going to click.
Let them try to score as much points as they
Exactly,
want.
but
I'm
like,
up 1,000
Just
over
make,
all
yeah.
of you.
I think we're making it very clear that
If
We've got
Inz
to
was to go,
Mm.
they're Cactus.
Okay.
Unless Inz was the problem. And if that's the case, then Greyhounds are in trouble. If he was to go to Greyhounds, it's all speculative. If he stays and the lineup doesn't change, and they're not going to have success because I just see that team doesn't get along. They mustn't get along. There's something missing in that team.
Mm.
They need to just quit it, rehash it, something else, whole new core, go for your life. But obviously, that might not be realistic because there's tournaments that need a core 3.
True.
And just on your point before, so it doesn't get mixed up, they have great management at Order.
Yes.
Inve
100%.
Yeah.
Inve is an absolute legend. He's
Yeah.
very good at what he does. So he's a great manager.
One of the best I've worked with.
Honestly, yeah, I'd put him up there as one of the best that we've got in the region, right?
I can't think of any others.
No, he's he's great. So
As far as operations are concerned, there's been a few.
yeah, there's a few out there, but he's great. So that's not the problem, I don't think. You can probably rule that out as a problem. It then comes back into the roster.
Yeah, he's definitely not a problem.
Yeah, it comes back to the roster though. Maybe it is Inz as a problem. Clearly, there is some kind of problem there. And I don't know.
Am I seeing things? Clearly, there's a problem.
Yeah, clearly there's a
problem-
problem.
They're not having success.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
Not having success kills teams.
To the level,
Oh, yeah.
to the level that we know that they should be capable of.
And that they'll all know. They'll all go to
They'll
bed
all
at
know.
night. They'll all squeeze their teddy bear and go, I'm better than this. And they'll build resentment every time
and
that
they're
they lose.
right though as well.
Yeah.
They are better than that.
Yeah.
That roster is they should be getting better results.
All right, so that
That's
was
Mac.
the light topic.
Yeah.
That was the light topic.
That's gonna get cut. A lot of that will get cut.
We could try and cut it. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so we're going to move on to Q&A, which is from a tweet I put out earlier. And there's only one serious question that we've
literally is
received.
Q&A.
Q&A. Questions and answers.
So
and we will
just-
answer these questions.
Moving forward, though, you're going to put out tweets, and we're going to try our best to answer them in a timely fashion.
Yep, in a very short
Oh,
time.
We'll call it Max
This-
Mailbag.
So this is the main one from Dograt19. With the changes to the major schedule next year, do you see IEM Sydney staying at the same time of the year, or do you think there will be a change to the date?
More speculation.
More
Yeah,
speculation,
Honestly, that's totally in the hands of a few different things.
including ESL.
Oh, I'm prepared to
Yep.
speculate.
Organisers, and I'm talking in terms of like the venue as well. The venue availability's got to work for them
Yep.
too.
Kudos.
Yep.
Kudos Bank Arena.
Yep.
State government as well.
Yep.
Because state government always look at
Oh,
things
they
like
love it.
they always the reason for their involvement and their heavy involvement is they're always trying to look to build and bring events that bring in new money to the state, and there's certain times of the year that are better for that than others. So they're going to have an
Yeah.
input on that.
I think
All
there was
valid
like NRL
points.
on at the same time at IEM, isn't there?
There was that
The
weekend.
day before?
There was there was a South
Stadium
game
across the
going
road. Yeah.
Yep.
So
There was also a meats festival. Just throwing that out.
Yeah, no, that was the last 2 years, though.
I'm sure you had a better point than that.
It was meat
that's
stock.
about all I got. Meat stock. That's
meat
right.
stock. Yeah, no, it's for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
meat
yeah,
stock's
meat-
been on at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just like a meat festival.
Looks really good.
on. You can meet new people.
Look, I on that point, I think that
get smoked.
IEM
over
Sydney obviously moves. Like it's not going to happen at the same time. That I can almost guarantee you. Because what teams are going to come? Are you only going to get teams that don't qualify for the major? That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it won't happen at the same time. We won't have IEM at around, was it May 5th, 6th, whatever it was. It may move, but there's a lot
It
of
was 5th to the 12th or something.
there's a lot of points that Jim just made that is obviously going to impact whether or not this thing can move.
Biggest point is Valve.
Yeah, Valve is going to be a huge one. There is a good chance that we won't have IEM Sydney next year based on the major. I hope that's not the case.
Speculative.
Speculative, but there's a good chance, right? I hope that's not the case. I hope it just gets moved and we get it at a different time. You got to remember, IEM is also a circuit. They do IEM all around the world, right? So Sydney fits in at the point that it fits in. If it's no longer going to fit in that period,
There are so many things for IM. Yeah.
yeah,
To make
100%.
it fits
Yeah.
perfectly when it is.
It fits where
It just
is.
made sense. And it was a staple for those 3 years.
And if
Yep.
it's changing, it could definitely go somewhere else as well. And you saw Carmack asking, where have we not done IEMs where you
Yeah.
would like to see an IEM? So
Look,
Yeah, they-
Carmack is a pretty. I think he's hard to read, but I think he's also easy to read. And we went out to K Barbecue after,
That's
and
right.
just randomly in Lidcombe,
Yep.
Carmack's there
yeah,
with
It's the
Mihal.
home of
Yeah.
esports, man.
And he came over afterwards and he said thanks for everything, but he didn't say see you again next year.
No,
And that
yeah.
and he said goodbye.
Yeah.
And when we finished as well, I just got this sense like, because the effing idiots that announce the major dates during IEM, like
Yeah.
so fucking inconsiderate.
give us a major.
Yeah. So
Well, that
and those dates are right smack bang in the middle of the perfect time to do IEM Sydney. And if you're not doing it then, when else can you do it in that schedule? The CSGO schedule is crazy.
I was gonna say, like, there's that, and then there's just so many other moving parts that you really can't pin it down to. Like,
Yeah.
any one of those things that we've named could just affect.
Yeah.
Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Like,
And
you know,
Astralis didn't come.
meat stock might
Blast
just take over.
Astralis.
Good.
Blast Astralis not coming is really bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it really did take a bit of an edge off the event.
Small
A
edge.
lot of the teams that turned up to the event were shit and in
But-
shit form.
What do you mean? It wasn't as bad as like
Jet
a
lag.
half baked optic that
Yeah.
turned up with like a coach and
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it didn't help that none of the bloody Aussie teams
But, you
went
know,
through either.
Well, the Aussie team shit the bed, but I think that, like I said,
that's
that's
pressure too.
that's part and parcel nowadays. I think you know.
Well, you got to remember, this is just off the back of Renegades making legend status
Yeah, I know,
at the
I know,
major.
I know. But then there was
So
also the
expectations were
gratification.
high.
We got to say that Renegades reached their absolute peak. Previous to that, they hit the Star Ladder Grand Final when they won Star Ladder that time.
It was a good run.
It was
Like
a
that, they
very
were on a
good run. But then they recently hit their peak with the legend status, and then straight after that, Gratisfaction's visa issues come into effect.
And I was gonna say, when you say they hit their peak, it's because they weren't allowed to reach any higher point due to those issues.
Yeah.
visa issues.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I mean. They've
Yeah,
reached
yeah,
their
it's-
peak, and then they couldn't continue to grow because Grat got his visa cooked. Because I speculative, they were trying to be cheap and got him in on an ESTA instead of a player pro athlete visa, which costs extraordinary amounts of money.
Yeah.
And that's why Renegades aren't as good as they were at their peak. They could get back there. There's no reason why they can't. I hope they do. But yeah, they shit the bed for IEM.
Right, cool. And that is a good point to leave that question. We still have a couple more, which
You
are
said there was
all
only one.
well, one serious
Oh,
question.
okay.
The rest
terrible.
are kind of memes, kind of insults.
That's what we'd expect.
Perfect.
Well, okay, elephant in the room. We'll do this one from Cleggy104. When is Gfinity Season 3? That answers itself. Oh, funny.
Hang on,
Cool.
there's the tooth of Nevery.
the Tooth of Nevery.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't
There
believe
you go.
it.
Jim has given you your answer. Okay. Jessic _Park
Can't handle the
66 asks, what kind of products does Iain use in his hair? And she has said that she is jealous.
Okay.
You gonna answer the question, Ian?
No, it actually uses OK hair gel.
Yeah. Well, I wish we went the other route where I take a photo of everything.
What
But
hair?
You could.
what hair? No, just head and shoulders.
You're a bit
Good
head
stuff,
Knees and
yeah.
toes.
You know,
Alright.
stop it getting greasy and some other stuff I don't remember the name of.
All right, it's good.
But I never put product in my hair. It's just shampoo, mate.
Okay, we've got Luke, so Eccles CS, plays for SYF. He asked, how are you? And I'm going to put that out to everyone, just checking out. You good, Jim?
Yeah, I've been better, but like, that's,
Okay.
He got made redundant like a day ago, dude.
All right. Wow. So he's not the best. All right, Sean,
Yeah, look, man.
I'm great.
you're great.
I'm
Take this
absolutely
offline.
phenomenal.
You're looking pretty good with your vape clouds and your sunny.
He
Well,
lives
you
in
know,
the shade.
it's
Yeah, his future's so bright.
so bright, so bright.
All right, so we'll stop basking in your glory. And Ian, how are you?
I'm all right.
You're good? All right, I'm good myself as well. I'm having
That's
a great
the
time.
biggest retail answer. Like, how are you doing, mate? Yeah, right.
Yeah, all right.
No one
I'm
really
good.
asks anyway.
All right, well, you get
You
terrible.
don't really
you get
give
terrible,
a shit, Luke.
terrible answers for terrible questions.
Yeah,
there you go. Conky asks at Conky OCE, how much do you bench? And I know everyone else has been hitting the gym as well, pretty much, except for Baal. So, how much are you benching, Jim?
Yeah, I'm glad Bale's not hitting me. I don't think we've done a 1RM test. To
I
be
don't
honest.
think we have.
Oh, I haven't done.
I don't
one.
think it would be too good for me. I think it'd be like what?
We could slam out 100, I reckon.
Yeah, I was going to say 80 to be on the safe side, but I think maybe I could do 100. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll go hundo.
Oh yeah, I just realised, dickhead, 80 and 20 in the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it'll be 100.
100 easy.
Yeah.
So 80.
Is that
Yeah.
what you say?
Yeah, you don't like just add the bar in.
No, I'm adding
Yeah,
the
you
bar
do.
in. What
Yeah,
the
you
fuck?
do.
You
bar-
add the bar weight.
Yeah, but the bar is part of the total.
Yes.
Not just like, 80 kilos weight. It's plus the 20 bar.
So it's 100.
So 100.
it's 100.
Yes.
So why are you saying so 80?
Don't ask him.
Leave it,
We're
leave
trying
it,
to get through
leave it.
this.
You said 80.
No,
yeah,
it's 100.
never
You
mind.
just suddenly bumped
That's
yourself
all
up
right.
20 to 100.
Move on.
We can bench the same.
And I have not done a 1RM either, but I do 90 relatively easily, and I don't think I've done 100 yet.
I'm sure you could do 100.
Probably. But we do a pyramid, so we start and go up, 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 up,
Oh
up.
yeah, that's
if
what we do
if
too.
I get myself out of bed in the morning, I can do 84. You know.
Oh.
All right. Spawn, lol, has asked, what are you working on?
Self-explanatory.
Yep.
I guess.
So
Yeah.
hopefully you've sat
Yeah.
through 2 hours of us talking. That is what we're working
Fine.
Now
on.
we'll
What's
cut this
next?
up for you. Don't worry, boys.
Beautiful. What are other good questions?
Myself.
What are we working on?
There's only one other question, which is from Mikester, the budget Mikester, apparently, according to you guys, not me, because I like my
He
job.
uses a Y.
Mikester 94. Yeah,
Doesn't
with a
matter if you
Y.
like- doesn't matter if you like your job.
The
mate.
production
Yeah,
mic
that's
stuff.
Do you live in constant fear that you will rip your incredibly tight shirt on camera due to an subconscious flexing condition?
As someone that has had been cut out of a shirt on a desk, yes.
That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
That's
all
very
right
tight
now,
shirt.
all right now. Go for it,
All
Jim.
right, well, we're already on like a 2-hour mark.
Well, things are going to get cut.
All right.
Yeah, that's
And that's it for the questions because I don't have great engagement. Other than that,
Do you want
hopefully,
someone more popular to tweet next?
maybe
Wow.
next time. We
Like
got, we
Sean.
got the retweets.
Maybe a bit earlier than 10 minutes before the cast as well.
Oh, wait, what's this
You
one?
guys know my tweet rates.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was a different tweet. Okay. And the next segment, which Jim is not in charge of, I'm in charge of.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you didn't send
Highlight clip of the clip of the week for future episodes. So obviously we have a
You're meant to read the whole note to yourself.
yeah. Hello. Yeah. So we've got this thing coming up called
Get
clip
milk
of the
on
week,
way
right?
home.
Get milk on the Anyway, so we're gonna have clip of the week coming up. We obviously didn't prepare one for this week. We'll have a cash prize on the line.
We can
I
cut one
believe.
in.
Huh?
Cut one in right now.
Produce
Right
it,
now.
man. Come
Yeah,
on
well,
in.
we don't have one prepared, so we don't know what to talk about.
Oh.
But I want people to send them in, and if people don't send them in, I'll just go looking for the best ones I've seen.
What-
from,
No, send them in or they don't get it.
What's a clip of the week? A
well,
Counter-Strike
if no one
clip?
sends them in, I'm not going to give them a cash
It's like
prize.
frag clip?
Yeah, best clip, best round.
Or maybe they could send in like a round for us to analyze.
Does
Yeah.
it need to be a comp round or
Yeah, it needs to be
MM?
official.
No, no,
Yeah,
official?
none of this shitty pub stuff.
We're not gonna highlight a round that's just in a random game.
We
Has to be in the official.
mean,
No,
can't
no
even-
Reddit clips.
It'd probably be. I'd imagine we'd probably get something pretty good out of ESL AUNZ at the moment. So.
I'm hoping so. That is the only real competition on right now.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's not limit our viewership to Australia here.
That's true.
There's obviously going to
We
be
can do some bigger ones.
For
Yeah,
our
let's
massive
include
international
New Zealand.
crowd.
Yeah. Beat me to it.
All of
And-
Oceania.
And Tasmania.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Here's to you.
But yeah, so we're gonna look at the clip, have a quick discussion about it, and give you some money. So hopefully,
Oh,
we'll figure out what the money is at some point.
My back pocket is pretty sore
Yeah,
at the moment.
yeah.
what's going on, man?
Let's start. So you want to
Yeah,
start
we'll
with
This
figure it
orange
out.
juice that I haven't touched isn't cheap.
I paid for it.
I can't reach
I
it.
paid for it. I bought it for you.
But yeah, so I guess we've covered many things. Probably done about 4 episodes.
It's 11
worth.
o'clock. Yeah, I think we can do fine with this.
Yeah.
it tastes
Thanks,
so
everyone.
good.
All right, well, we'll
For
wrap
those
this up.
of you that ever asked if we actually drink the dare on the desk. We
Absolutely.
drink things.
I literally at one point, I feel like I almost had a caffeine OD from drinking too many dares.
That's not the messaging of there after.
Hey, it's just how it is.
Anyway, that has been the first Not Another podcast, the Counter-Strike edition, not to be confused with anything else, but I've had an absolute ball. It's been 2 hours. It's been too easy.
I think
2
some
hours.
people are going to have a nap after this.
That is the acronym Iain Sniper Turner. Things have been in your scope, of course. Sean Baal Carlson, Iain Sniper Turner, and of course, Geordie McAleer. And I've been Jimneso, will still be Jimneso. Thank you for joining us, and we will get a few of these cranking out at a rate that we can sustain, and we are going to stagger our content because we're not silly.